everybody. Welcome to everybody in the chat. I'm so excited that we are here tonight. Happy Valentine's Day for everybody who celebrates.
Yep.
Happy Galentine's Day if you celebrated yesterday with Worldwide Galentine's Day and stuff. And just glad to look and see everybody here. Yeah. So
Yeah, we had Paris Finley in here early. We had Lyric in here already.
yeah, y'all wasn't playing. Y'all was like, we are not waiting. We are not playing games with y'all. We are here to talk about this movie, and we have to talk about this movie. So, at this point, we are here today to discuss everything about the 1998 film, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. This is going to be a deep dive. So, get your popcorn and your snacks because this is going to be a long one. And we again want to welcome everybody in the chat who is joining us on YouTube and Twitch and Kick. And with no further ado, let's talk about how Stella got her groove back, y'all.
I'm Heit,
And I'm Cheri.
and you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber.
As usual, there will be spoilers.
Yes, and as usual, if you have never seen the 1998 film, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, don't worry about it. If you haven't seen the film, then we'll tell you everything that happens in the film. If you don't want to know everything that happens in the film, go ahead and hop off the call now. And so the first thing that we always like to talk about is the background of the film. And so How Stella Got Her Groove Back is this 1998 romantic comedy, dramedy, about a successful 40-year-old career woman who embarks on a transformative journey of love and self-discovery when she falls for a much younger man while vacationing in Jamaica. And so we always like to talk a little bit about the background, the making of the film, the background stories related to the film, and all of that stuff. And so the first thing that you should know about How Stella Got Her Groove Back is that it is actually based on a true story.
Bruh, whose story?
It is based on a film that was adapted from Terry McMillan's best-selling novel, which was inspired by her real-life romance with a younger Jamaican man, Jonathan Plummer.
Oh, or was it Tracy Chapman?
Well,
that was what's her name?
No. Do y'all
It was
hear
based
Heit
on
trying
Toni
to be
Morrison
messy?
and Tracy Chapman.
Because yes, they had a relationship, Toni Morrison and Tracy Chapman. But no, we are talking about
Terry
McMillan and Mr. Plummer, right? Who eventually
Plummer, I see.
Shut up. Who eventually did become her husband. And so their relationship later took this dramatic turn when Plummer revealed that he was gay, adding an unexpected layer to the story's legacy. And so let us just take a quick little rewind, deep dive into what happened with the author.
This is story, everything Toni Morrison. No, I'm just
this story is like crazy though. All right. So according to Oprah.com, so don't y'all say I said it. This is what happened because Terry McMillan went on Oprah a few times and stuff like that. And just for reference sake, in case you don't know, Terry McMillan also wrote Waiting to Exhale, the other movie that Angela Bassett is in with Whitney Houston and Layla Rashawn, and I'm missing Gloria. What's the actress name that played Gloria in Waiting to Exhale?
Dang. Love her.
Anyway, I don't know. Y'all, this is live, so I'm doing my best. Somebody in the chat is going to tell me.
It's an L in there.
So, at any rate, we're talking about Terry McMillan. So,
Loretta Devine.
Yes, Loretta Devine. Yes. One of the original Dreamgirls, by the way. Okay, so this best-selling author, Terry McMillan's 1995 Tropical Getaway, had all the makings of a storybook romance. The then 43-year-old author was vacationing in Jamaica when Jonathan Plummer, a charming 20-year-old Jamaican, first caught her eye. Terry pursued Jonathan even though she was old enough to be his mother. He said, "But you're not my mother." And she says, "I said, would you like to sleep with me?" And he said yes.
Dang.
So she went there and, Stella was getting her groove back, okay? So 3 months after Terry returned to California, she asked Jonathan, the inspiration for her bestseller, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, to move into her multi-million-dollar home in 1998. They married after that. Okay.
Oh,
So they
okay.
did it 3 years. So they did get married, just like, with the movie, but we're going to get to that. So 6 years into their marriage, Jonathan blindsided Terry with a shocking revelation
That
that
he
he
was
was
gay.
gay. He never gave any indication that he was gay, she says. I couldn't drive in a car without him holding my hand. He brushed my hair. He massaged me. All kinds of wonderful
All
things.
kinds of gay things.
You
I'm just
know,
joking, y'all.
but like seriously though, what from when they talk about it, it's like
He
he was
brushed my
on
hair and scratched my
but
scalp.
maybe he was clearly maybe bi at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause-
Dang, did they come out with a part 2?
No.
Oh,
So the
that was
couple,
twice.
I know, right? So the couple filed for divorce in 2005, and they were waging this war of words or whatever. It went all over the media. I remember when this happened, and it was like, oh my goodness. Because the thing is, initially, the story, the book, and then when the movie came out, when I tell you, women were lining up to go to Jamaica and get their groove back. Okay. So in November of 2005, their divorce continued to play out, and they even went on Oprah, and they were just talking about why they were there, and ultimately, Terry McMillan wound up suing him for $40 million for emotional distress and ruining her reputation. But dude, he turned around after he left, and he was like, "I need me some spousal support. Come up off that WAP, because I need some money." And ultimately what happened is, they were very angry. She was bitter and angry, admittedly herself. This is what she says. And so at the end of the day, they say now, like today, or as of the time that this publication was written on Oprah.com, that they are actually friends. Not good friends, but they're actually friends now. And, everything's settled. She dropped her lawsuit against him. They settled the divorce and, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. That's how the real life story ended up. Ooh, I know y'all got something to say over here in the chat though. Let's take a look and see if anybody had anything to say.
Why is yours still loaded? Mine keeps messing up.
Oh, you're over here. Y'all always know we wind up with these technical behind the scene problems. But yes, mine is still loaded. So I'm gonna go ahead with it. But Trey Griffin says he was her hairdresser, not her husband. LOL. Well, he was doing it all, right? He just was doing it all. And so then we have Case and Brown. He from Jamaica. So he was way in the closet. So he was way in the closet. I'm guessing you mean because it was one word missing from that. That he was in the closet. So this I think points to though the cultural issues surrounding, people not being able to be themselves and pursue whatever their passions are, to be who they want to be authentically them due to the social pressures and expectations and stuff like that. And so, I guess he really was, in the closet or whatever. It'd be interesting to know, like, what is his lifestyle today? Just, because sometimes people, they, especially in the public eye, they come out and they do a thing and then they take it back and then they, so at any rate, let us talk about the next thing on the list. So it is a true story. Well, obviously not everything is true, but it was inspired by a true story. So then we have the director and the screenwriter. So the film was directed by Kevin Rodney Sullivan, and he's also known for his work on romantic character-driven stories. And then, of course, Terry McMillan co-wrote the screenplay with Ron Bass. So I like it when the author of the book is helping to write the screenplay,
And I always wonder when they're going back and forth with the studios and stuff, like how much are the writers involved? Because it just seemed like when you have the novelists and people involved, they come out better than people who just say, I write screenplays or I write movies. So, yeah.
And then this guy also was the one who helped write Waiting to Exhale, the screenplay for that too. So, they had written together before. So, I would assume that the more you do, then the better, the better that relationship is, when you're working together, and the better that chemistry is just going to be. So the next thing is we have Angela Bassett's acclaimed performance. So Angela Bassett, who plays Stella, we're going to get totally into the cast in a minute, but Angela Bassett received widespread praise for her performance as she portrayed Stella's emotional journey with depth and charisma. And her chemistry with her co-star Taye Diggs in his breakout role as Winston was the highlight of the film. And I will say that, pretty much have we ever seen Angela Bassett do a bad job? No, because she
Hmm.
is straight up top tier. This is like, hey, when you're top tier, we expect the best from you. There's not any, half stepping with it. So it's
That's right.
almost, like, hey, of course it's
Yeah.
gonna be a great job.
And then basically she worked out when she did What's Love Got to Do with It and got real buff because, Tina Turner, she
Mm-hmm.
was known for being, in shape. And they just used to revel about her legs and stuff, how she had the greatest legs, even in her 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then when this movie came out, then Angela Bassett to me became known for her arms because
Yes.
well,
Her shoulders
when
and her arms.
her shoulders
like,
and her arms,
how
even
toned
before
they
this,
were.
when
Mm-hmm.
What's Love Got to Do with It, because she was so toned, and she kept that ever since then.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, like, even from her in What's Love Got to Do with It, I remember when I first saw like the images of her as Tina Turner, I was like, I don't think Tina Turner was that ripped. Like, Tina had
She
an amazing.
was.
Was Tina Turner arms that as defined though? That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Not well. Okay,
it
I
was. You got
stand
to go back
corrected.
and look.
I thought I looked and I thought yes, she was toned, of course, but like Angela Bassett was like ripped. But at any rate, I think she looked amazing. And this was also part of the envy that people would have for Angela Bassett is her body. Oh my gosh. And I mean, even now, Angela Bassett is getting
60s?
close to 70.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what I'm saying? She's in her 60s, but she's got to be getting up close to 70. How old is Angela Bassett, y'all? Somebody in the chat help us out.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, she looks great. She still looks great, But at any rate, it was filmed on location in Jamaica. Much of the movie was shot in Jamaica, and it used real beaches and resorts to capture the island's vibrant beauty and culture. And the setting did definitely play a crucial role in emphasizing the film's themes of escape and like self-discovery and passion. You know, so I think when we were watching, because we watched earlier today, so that we could just be totally right about this. And I just wonder, didn't we see like something that looked like a green screen? And there's a scene where she's exercising with Whoopi Goldberg on the beach, and I'm like, this looked like a green screen, don't you think?
Huh.
Or something.
Yeah, it
didn't
was
look
green on a blue
real.
screen, and you can
Yeah.
kind of see some artifacts and stuff around them.
Yeah, but I thought that was, kind of interesting or whatever. So, then we have the theme of the cultural age gap, right? The culture gap and the age gap, not the cultural age gap. So the film sparked conversations about age gap relationships, gender roles, and the societal expectations regarding romance and career-driven women. It was one of the few mainstream Hollywood films of the time to center a successful Black woman's journey of love and personal fulfillment. And I think this is so true because it also makes us question stereotypes. Because how many times people will be like, oh, yeah, the woman that this older guy married is 20 years younger than him. If we think back to the times, especially in the 90s, you think like Anna Nicole Smith marrying the, very, very much older billionaire. She was, I think, in her late 20s or something like that. And he was like 90 or something, of the Texas. I think he might have been an oil baron or something like that. But anyway, he had a whole lot of money, so it's not uncommon. You think Hugh Hefner and all the young bunnies that he was having relationships and stuff with. It happens all the time where there's an older man and a younger woman. And, depending on the age gap, people will
Yeah.
say stuff. But
What's that one lady right now? Michelle something. Is it Michelle?
Michelle?
The one who's with the basketball or football player who everybody brought up?
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean.
She was in that Diddy video
she used to be in Basketball
during
Wives
the
a
thing,
while.
yeah. And she was flapping her cheeks.
Is her name not Michelle? It's
something like
I
Michelle.
can't think of her
Shell.
name right now. But anyway, the one who had the baby by the basketball star now, but he's like 20 or whatever.
Is he
and
a star?
She's got somebody in the NBA, and he's like 20, and she has a son who's his same age. And they're together. I can't think of her name, but anyway, she was on the older days of Basketball Wives. Drea Michelle, is that the yeah. Thank you, Real McCoy. Drea, that is her name. Yeah, Drea Michelle. So So anyway, so we're talking about these age gap relationships and, how much is too much, how wide of a breadth is too much, but also the perhaps I guess sexist view of things, which is that, it's okay for the man to be older, but it's not okay for the woman to be older and how much older and all of these other things, and Case and Brown says it was kind of taboo for the younger man, older woman once upon a time,
Yeah, it's
you
still
know.
kind of that way.
Yeah.
Huh. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what a lot of these movies were about, the classic forbidden love trope, right?
Mhm.
And in the 90s they were really flipping them,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
To show these double standards and to just get a different perspective that's not just, of the male, from the male's point of view.
Yes, yes. So let us take a quick look here in the chat and, see what y'all are talking about. Um, Casey Brown says, Cougar loving. And then Darfalina, hey, y'all. Hey, Grape Tea News, thank you so much for your help in the chat. And then let's see, Paris Finley. Yeah, she was given and still is. They're talking about Angela Bassett because she just looked amazing and she still does look amazing. People are saying Trey Griffin and others are saying that maybe she's like around 65. So she's in her mid 60s, but she looks great. Casey Brown says she's 66. Dejanay Dior, thank you so much for coming. She said, I almost missed it. We were thinking that 4 o'clock was going to be the time that we would have our lives, kind of like still trying to touch on our work, our work tribe, those folks who are at work and listen, and then also the people who are coming home. And then, but folks were like, "Hey, I'm gonna miss it because I'm gonna be at work, or I'm not gonna." So we pushed it on back to 7 p.m. Central this time, and we're still sort of new at doing these lives, so. We'll see, but, and maybe chime in the chat with what y'all think about. Is it better to do it like around this time or is it better to do it earlier in the day? And we'll just see. And maybe we'll do some earlier, some later, but, we will, um, we will see. So the next thing that we want to discuss, because we're going to get into the cast after this, but we want to introduce something that I think a lot of you all would be excited about. And it is our premium film sponsorship program. And so many of you have suggested films that you want to see us cover. But unfortunately, some of the films, because the way we choose the films we're going to cover has to do with, what we think the majority of people who will watch will want if they're going to be the mainstream ones. And then if it's going to be on our premium, like on our Patreon or our channel members, then those videos that we cover that are exclusive for them, are based on, like, we'll put a poll out or something and, we'll see what you guys might want to hear that are in the membership programs. But if there's a movie that you want to see and it's not high on our list, is maybe less popular, but you really want to hear us talk about it, we wanted to be able to meet those needs because a lot of people have asked about stuff like that. And the reality is that if it's going to be less popular, it's really obscure, or it's a huge risk for us to try to cover that movie in a big way, then it's probably going to be lower on the list, right? And we have so many movies on the list already that who knows when we would get to cover it. So this will give people the opportunity to jump in and move that movie that you want to hear us discuss closer to the front of the line. And so we're launching this premium sponsorship program, and here is how it will work. So anybody would donate $25, just $25 via Cash App or via the axiomamnesia.com website. Y'all probably didn't know, but we do have a website. Or the Axiom app website.
Axiom.app.
I'm sorry. So yes, axiom.app. Only during the live stream. And then you would just message the movie that you want us to cover and include your email, preferably, and then you'll become the premium sponsor of that film of your choice. And then we'll discuss that film for at least 30 minutes on one of our channels, because the channels have kind of different genres of video that we cover. So whichever one it would fit best with, we will put it on that channel, and we're going to talk about it for at least 30 minutes within the next month. So it's not like it's going to be, it's 6 months down the line. Within the next month, And so just a note, because some people are like, oh, I make films. Let me go ahead and just pay you $25. No, this is for viewers only to sponsor the films that they want to see discussed. And this program is not for filmmakers or distributors to use as a means of promoting their films. If you are a filmmaker, distributor, or whatever, and you have a film you want to promote, you can contact us at the email that's listed on this channel under contact.
And the movie doesn't have to be Black-centered.
Yes, it can be any movie that you want us to cover.
I just hope that they're good movies.
Yes. Which is why we said, at least 30 minutes. Realistically, y'all know any movie we cover, we won't talk about for more than 30 minutes. But if it's really bad or really like, why in the heck are we covering this? But we should be able to cover it and discuss it for about 30 minutes at least.
Maybe we'll, depending on the movie, we might have to, chat back and forth, and reach some sort of conclusion.
Yeah. Which is why you need to give us your email if you do this.
But yeah, I think just most movies will probably be all right though.
Yeah, most of them would be. And so for this live we're on right now, we only have 3 slots because we can't just have it inundated with, and then all of a sudden it's just pay to play. No. So for this live, we have 3 slots for premium film sponsors. So if you want to ensure that we discuss your film, go ahead and get those sponsorships in. And remember, we only accept the Cash App and payments through axiom.app. And if you go there, then you'll be able to see where you can just do
there's a one-time
payment.
Donation.
There's a button that you just click either through our app or through Cash App.
And that goes directly to it uses Stripe, and you can use credit card. You can use Cash App payments. I don't know exactly how the Cash App payments work, but you could do that through axiom.app.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, so it's not like, you're not giving us your credit card information. It is a credit card processor. So we don't get your info and all of that stuff.
So Asia said, you probably think I'm crazy if I suggest Inside Out 2. If it's standalone, because we would have to watch 1 and 2.
But we did watch 1. We did watch Inside Out 1.
I don't remember what happened. No, but I'm just saying for things with like sequels, like when you go to a sequel and you be like, Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Well, that's all right, because I'm gonna watch if I haven't seen the rest of them, I'll be, totally. It'll be full disclosure. I'm gonna say, hey, I haven't seen part 1. So, and then the way that would go,
Planet of the Apes with like 12 movies.
Well, the way that would go would be for anybody who hasn't seen this whole thing and you're not steeped in the whole, movie and story, then this movie you might be lost, right? So these are things that you need to know when you watch any movie. And then Alexis Marie, will you tell us when the slots have closed? Yes, we will. And since this is the first time we're doing it.
Cheri only want to do 3. I'm just like,
okay, well, you know what? We will tell you when it's closed. But 3, I just wanted to be conservative because I was like, what if we get 90, but yes. So get them in. But the point is that there are limited spaces because this is something extra we're doing. We don't want to,
make
out.
It our thing.
Yes, we're not. We don't want to bump out of the way of, good movies that we should be covering. But we also want to be able to give you guys a chance to cover the niche movies or less popular films, that you want us to watch and talk about. So that it is open now. And if you're listening later to the replay, if you donate the $25, I guess what we'll do is we'll say for this one time only, we'll go ahead and accept it. We'll go ahead and do for this one video. We'll go ahead and do it. And then keep an eye on, if you haven't donated, keep an eye on the posts, the community post tab. Okay, because we will also post there when we're closed for the moment, right? When we're not accepting more. But anyway, we're not trying to make it too complicated, but we just want to be able to deliver what we promised to you, right?
Yeah. So we probably have something on Blink Twice coming out. So
yes,
already.
Blink Twice. Just for those of you, and as long as we might talk about, Blink Twice is going to be the next movie that we're covering on our watch party. Which is available to our, premium members. And it's also going to be available to our free Patreon tier. So if you are not on the free Patreon tier, you want to jump on that too. The link is in the description. Okay. So there we are. But if there's another movie anybody wants besides Blink Twice, go ahead and get on top of that. And we also, I guess, will be watching our Cash App as we go, and keeping an eye on who has snatched up those 3 slots that are the 3 first ones for sure, and definite ones, and then, we'll go in the order of received. All right, so let us keep going. I'm excited. I'm so excited to bring that to you guys, though. So Stella, how Stella got her groove back. So now we're on the cast, right? Stella Payne is the main character, and we mentioned that Stella is played by Angela Bassett, and we all know Angela because she's done so much stuff and so much great work. But just a reminder: Waiting to Exhale, What's Love Got to Do with It, Black Panther, Boys in the Hood, and just so much more, right? Then we have Winston Shakespeare, what a name, right? Played by Taye Diggs. And we know Taye from The Wood, Brown Sugar, The Best Man, and more recently even All American. He's just been around forever.
Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about Angela Bassett and the fact that she is, this top tier actor, and we have seen her in so much, and she's always great. But she was like pitted against Taye Diggs, who was not a newcomer at the time, but we just didn't know who he was. Because prior to this, Taye Diggs comes from the kind of more of a Broadway scene, and he was in Rent. He was acting. He had been acting. It wasn't like he just all of a sudden showed up. But we just, the audience, especially, like the Black cinema audience, we had no idea who he was. And so, like I mentioned, he was in The Wood and Brown Sugar and some other stuff. But how do you think he did in this movie?
Taye did,
Yeah.
man. Anytime you got somebody who try to do these accents, then
It's always risky.
it's just like, here we go. So that part, I don't know. Because first off, I don't even know the Jamaican accent to know if he's doing it right? Because you have different accents too in different places. But I don't watch the movie and think that he did a bad job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at the time when I watched it, I thought it was great. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And this movie actually kind of made like Taye Diggs sort of a heartthrob, which was interesting to me because when you watch, what was the next thing I saw him in? The Best
After
Man.
this?
I feel like The Best Man was
The
probably the
Wood,
next thing.
probably too.
The Wood and The Best Man, right? So when I saw those movies, I felt like in those movies he was not as suave, even though he was
Suave.
younger. The characters he played weren't quite as
okay.
suave, and and so the heartthrob part, and didn't really convert the same way. And maybe it's because of who else is in the film, right? Because if you think of The Best Man, you have
Yeah, but I think it's the role too, right? Like if the role doesn't call for
Harper
it,
in The Best Man.
if you're going to be, I got to seduce somebody twice my age, then
Mm-hmm.
it has to at least try to pull that off. But the other ones, he's a very immature
Mm-hmm.
guy who doesn't accept commitment. And like The Wood, I believe that one is, right? Or is that The Best Man?
Yeah, that's The Wood, where he's like trying to walk away from.
No, The Best Man, he wasn't getting married, right?
No, he's not getting married in The Best Man. The Best Man,
this is the same character from The Best Man and The Wood.
basically, practically, But yeah, so then we have Quincy Payne, who plays Stella Payne's son, played by Michael J. Pagan. And we have Delilah Abraham, played by none other than Whoopi Goldberg, who is just, obviously an Academy Award-winning actress. She's been in The Color Purple, a comedian. She was in Ghosts, Clara's Heart, Sister Act 1, 2, 50, however many Sister Acts there were. She's just been in so much, too many things to name. But when you think about the timing of this film, right, in 1998, Whoopi Goldberg was like at the top of her game. So here you have two like very acclaimed actresses within, in this film. So then we have Vanessa, who is Stella's sister, right? And she's played by Regina King.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all know, we just talked about Regina King in A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, which was I think that was the last movie that we did a live on this channel. And she was in that. She, of course, Boys in the Hood, 227, the TV show, Poetic Justice, more recently, The Harder They Fall, and Shirley. So she just, what can we say? Amazing actor.
Do you think she's amazing?
I do. And I think that she's,
I don't think she gets good enough roles.
I don't think she gets good enough roles for her talent. I absolutely agree with that. Because I think part of the depth of her acting skill, you really could see in Poetic Justice, like when she was playing,
Oh
the drunk
yeah.
friend and, stuff like that. So I really think that, we saw that early. It's not like she just now, okay, I've been acting 40 years. So now I can, I've learned to be she had that talent for a long, long time. And I think that she's very underrated and doesn't get enough shine.
Hmm.
But she was in it playing Vanessa, the sister. And then we also have Jack. Okay, so there's these two guys, Jack and Buddy, who are two supposedly retired NFL stars. And so Jack is played by Richard Lawson. Y'all remember we talked about Richard Lawson from Divorcing the Black, right? And we all the
Not
Tyler
the
Perry,
casket.
right? Not the casket. He was the daddy
Take
in
him out.
Divorcing the Black. Yes. And then but we also reminded you that he was in Poltergeist, the scary horror film in the
he was
80s
the black
from
guy in
he was
Poltergeist.
the black guy in Poltergeist, right? He was one of the guys who was operating the equipment to, detect the poltergeist activity. And so, in addition to that, he is also Bianca Lawson's daddy. And y'all know Bianca Lawson from Queen Sugar and Save the Last Dance and a bunch of other stuff that she was in. And then he is Tina Knowles, Beyonce and their mama, her ex-husband. So,
Yeah.
I thought it was like, okay, he was in here. I was surprised. I didn't recognize him in here at the time.
Did he have a daughter on the side?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. So then we have Angela, who plays Stella's other sister. There's an older, not a sister older than Stella, I don't think, but just a sister that's older than Vanessa, the one played by Regina King. And so that's Suzanne Douglas. We just talked about Suzanne Douglas because she too was in The Inkwell. And in Parenthood, the TV show, and in a bunch of other stuff. She was in TAP. So we know and love Suzanne
Was
Douglas.
she in Jason's Lyric?
Yes, and she was the mama off of Jason's Lyric.
Yeah.
So, and then I mentioned Buddy and Jack, the two retired NFL players who were there in Jamaica having a good time. So Buddy is played by Barry Shakaba Henley, I think is how you pronounce that. Shabaka, I'm sorry. Henley. And so y'all know him when y'all see him because he's been in a bunch of stuff. And then Dr. Shakespeare. So this is Winston's mama and daddy. Winston's daddy is played by Glenn Turman. We don't even have to hardly introduce him. Cooley High, A Different World. We know Glenn Turman. And he was also in Inkwell.
Dr. Weber.
Huh?
Yeah, he was in Inkwell as well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I say Dr. Weber's her ex.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Weber off of Grey's Anatomy.
Carl Lumbly was the guy in The Cell with O.G. Bobby Johnson in South Central.
Yeah.
He was in there as
the judge.
Yeah, the judge.
Like somebody who they wanted to be what was her love interest, like a blind date love interest and stuff like that. So then Winston's mama is played by Phyllis Yvonne Stickney, right? She also was in the Inkwell, and she played the therapist or the psychiatrist from the Inkwell. So that's really kind of the main cast of this movie that you see. And it just really was seasoned. Everybody was, except maybe Stella's son. Everybody in this movie knew what was up, knew about the movie business, knew how to act. And, I think that's another reason why it probably just went so well. Like there weren't these weird things happening in the movie where you're like, oh, these people don't know what they're doing. Plus, a lot of money I feel like was put behind this movie because that first movie of Terry McMillan's Waiting to Exhale that was adapted into a film, or the book that was adapted into a film, they wanted to recreate that magic, right? They're like, oh, the first book was a hit. Okay, the second one we're going to make a hit too. And that's, so they knew that people would be coming to check this movie out. So next, we're going to get into our movie summary, and y'all know how we do that. But first, let us talk a little bit more about our free Patreon tier. We have just introduced our new free Axiom Amnesia Patreon tier. It's a free tier, right? We still have our premium Patreon. This is a free tier that lets you get a little bit of something, but not everything, because we just want to be able to, talk to you guys outside of this platform and give you a little something extra. One of the main things is that when there are movies where we want to make comments immediately after you see something in the film, where the context is so important, it's really hard to do with the very tiny short clips that we're allowed to use here on YouTube, right? So that allows us to do things like watch parties where we
where we watch the film and
Yeah.
then in its entirety and
Right.
comment on it as it's going on.
Mm-hmm. So at any rate, that's what it is. We want to make sure that you all get over to our free Axiom Amnesia Patreon tier. All you got to do is you go to, there's a link in the description of this video, but you just go to patreon.com/Axiom Amnesia. You click join for free, and then you would just use your existing social media accounts to just log in with that. You don't even have to set up a new account over there. Okay, and you can set up a new one if you want to. And that is all free. Also, linked in the description is our Discord. What our Discord does is it too is free. Okay, it allows you to be able to chat real time with other people here, all of our tribe here, all of our cousins, our family. And we get those real time things. You guys can talk. We can hear each other's voices. It's just more ways for us to continue to connect over these movies. Some things that we can't say in the general audience, we can go ahead and say, a little bit more discreetly when we're on Discord, when we're over there, chatting amongst ourselves on Patreon and stuff. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this movie summary. We always break the movies down into 3 acts, Act 1, 2, and 3. And the first act, which is setting up the film, letting us know who's in this movie, letting us know the lay of the land, what's important, what's happening, what is the story, right? And so this is Stella's routine and then her escape to Jamaica, right? So Stella Payne is the successful 40-year-old stockbroker who's living in San Francisco. She's very career driven, but she feels kind of unfulfilled in her personal life. And so her son is going off to visit his father for 2 weeks. And she finds herself at home by herself with nothing to do. And then she winds up seeing a commercial for Jamaica and says, hey, why don't I go to Jamaica, right? And so she and her best friend, Delilah, who's played by Whoopi Goldberg, decide that they're going to go to Jamaica and have this much needed vacation. And while she's there, she winds up meeting Winston Shakespeare, a much younger guy who's charming and handsome. He's 20 years old. Remember, Stella's 40. And despite their significant age difference, Winston's persistence and his confidence, they intrigue Stella.
His
and
looks.
It pays off his looks, right? She think he's fine. And she begins to open up and to this idea of having a romantic fling with this much
because
younger
her friend
guy.
Delilah is like, you need to go ahead and get some too.
So that's basically what's going to happen in Act 1. But now we're going to go with our blow by blow of exactly what happens in the film. So the film opens with Stella kind of running through some dewy early morning,
right, to show that she worked out, to show her body. This is,
yes, and she's like
Angela
running, and then boom, she's at work. She's a stockbroker and she is like shot calling. She's like, oh, do you want to make some money? Get this person. She's walking in between people's desks, pointing at stuff. She's in charge. You know what I'm saying? And so then after she's at work, we see her and she's at the spa. And this is when we're introduced to her 2 sisters, Angela and Vanessa. And those are the ones that are that we introduced, played by
Regina King.
Regina King, yes. And I'm sorry, I'm going too fast for myself. Regina King and Suzanne Douglas play their sisters. So they're in there and they're at the spa with their faces covered in the spa robes and all of that stuff.
Suzanne Douglas is her sister?
Yeah, Suzanne Douglas is her sister. And so is, because Suzanne Douglas plays Angela. And then Vanessa is her other sister, right?
Why does she look different? So it's another, what? That was Angela. What? That was Suzanne Douglas the whole time?
Yeah, that was
I only
Suzanne
recognized her in one part of it. So
that was Suzanne Douglas the whole
pregnant
time.
One.
Yes, that's the pregnant sister.
Oh, okay.
Right. So while we're there, we notice one of the sisters is pregnant. The sister that's pregnant is Angela. And so she's in there in the spa and they're getting their faces and feet and all that done. Stuff you
and
do
then
at
they
the spa.
talking about, we need to hook Stella up, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, because because they're like, you ain't had a date. Stella ain't been going out with no men. Only thing Stella been doing is taking care of her son and working. Stella is divorced and whatever. And so her sister, so you see the difference between the 2 sisters, because the one sister, Angela, has at least one child.
Butt on her back?
Angela has her butt on her back. She definitely is very snooty and very, very traditional. And then the other sister, Vanessa, who's Regina King and is younger, she has like a child. I think she's a single mother because she's talking about her baby's father at one point in the film. And so the sisters are almost like polar opposites. So you got Vanessa like, you need a husband and your not Vanessa, Angela. You need a husband and your son needs a father. And I'm like, dang, okay. Why are y'all laying it into her? Y'all supposed to be having a good time and relaxing time at the spa, and y'all, talking about how she needs to get a man.
Well, that's what spa time is for. That's what community is for, right? You try to impose
To
your
tell
will
you
on the
about
community,
yourself.
make the community how you want it to be.
Okay. Well, that's what was happening. So then we see Stella pushing back, and she's like, you married the second guy you ever slept with, and she's talking to Angela. And so they start going at it. And so this is the dynamic where Stella and Angela fight back and forth. That's just all they do. And then the youngest sister, Vanessa, Regina King's character, she's like the mediator between them, the two of them, all the time. And so the next scene, we see Stella. She's at the airport to see her son, Quincy, to see him off. And they're standing at the gate and everything. And it reminded me of like, she's all the way at the gate. And maybe it's because she's there with a minor. But it also, I think about the fact that it's 1998, which is that big thing that happened that changed everything in 2001. And you used to be able to go to the gate at the airport and watch the plane take off and all that stuff. And, you can't get behind security without a ticket these days.
Mm-hmm.
But she was
But
there.
then the son is saying weird stuff, like, I don't know. When I was a kid, I wasn't thinking about this, but he's like, I want you to try and have some fun to his mama.
Yeah, like what kid says to that to their parent?
Try and have some fun.
Which definitely.
He must be around the house moping around.
I know.
Gotta be.
He was like, and we find out he's gone for 2 weeks, right? And so to me, though, for real, this says a lot about their relationship. I think it says that he has a level of responsibility that's different. He also feels a sense of care, all of that.
Right. So Jay Boogan says, I don't know why she made the father comment. She must not like the ex either. I think so. It's a different idea from back in the day where it's when you have a family, the new man, he becomes the stepfather of the kid and he's in the house raising the kid. It's not like a slight to the other father because he is expected to go and find somebody else and basically have a family depending on their ages and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you see Quincy, he gets on the flight to go visit his dad, and Stella goes home and she's by herself.
Yeah.
And
she's playing the piano, some sad music. she could play good enough to play some sad music to show us how she feels. And then there's a commercial on the TV.
Mm-hmm. For Jamaica. They're like,
with a possibly fake accent.
All the Jamaican accents in this thing are fake, if you ask me. They just are. Is anybody Jamaican? Because I can't detect the fine.
Yeah.
I'm not Jamaican and I can't detect it. But if anybody is Jamaican or is very close with Jamaicans, tell me, did any of these accents sound authentic to you? Yes or no?
So you had the Jamaican thing, but she saw herself in the ads, in the commercial. So that was a little weird though to me, because I don't think anything like this was anywhere else in the movies, but they threw this just in this scene where she's in the commercial and stuff and she's seeing herself and they're saying Stella, her name. And and it basically what convinces her somewhat, it gets her idea of going to Jamaica. But then her friend Delilah, played by Whoopi Goldberg, is the one who kind of really convinced her to go to Jamaica. So, yeah. And I didn't know that Cheri had walked away.
Sorry, I was trying to look, and I'm looking over here. Listen, in this live, I'm trying to monitor the Cash App, so I had walked over to look at the iPad for the Cash App and stuff. So just to let you guys know, we still have slots. So if you want to get in on getting your sponsoring a movie that you want to see us to cover, you still have time to do that.
Yeah, and if you weren't here, you could drop 25 at axiom.app or the Cash App, and then we got a couple slots to basically cover the movie.
Yes,
but it's not a promotion for filmmakers.
Yes. So yes, so then and she's seeing herself like in the ad and everything like that, and in the meantime of the ad, her sister had given her number to a judge to call her. And so she gets distracted by this call, but then she keeps focusing on the commercial. So the guy's calling and he's like, hey, this is Judge so-and-so. And your sister gave me your number so I can talk to you. And, whatever. But meanwhile, she's fantasizing seeing herself in this commercial. She is not thinking about that.
What she really saw, she saw Shabba-Doo. What's that dude? Not Shabba. What's the dude name on Different World?
Oh, Shazza.
Shazza. She seen Shazza running out of the water and stuff. That was part of the commercial too, right? So she had this idea that she gonna go and meet Shazza or something.
Kason Brown says this was the watered down Hollywood version of Jamaican accents. And Bree Beauty says the accents were horrid. Very Miss Cleo. I'm gonna have to take y'all's word for it. I mean, I detect that it seemed artificial, but
yeah. And there was a Miss Cleo biopic that we watched, so yeah.
Should we cover the Miss Cleo biopic?
Bruh. I don't know.
Let us know in the chat.
So
at any rate, we're talking about this commercial.
Okay.
So then after the commercial is off, she's like, man, I should go to Jamaica. So she calls her friend Delilah. And she gets Delilah's answering machine or whatever, and then she hangs up. And then she calls back, and she's like, okay, and she leaves this message, and she's like, I got this idea. Basically, she wants to go to Jamaica. But then she calls right back, and she's like, you know what? Just forget that last message. I don't have time to go to Jamaica and all that and that, right? And so her friend who's normally available is not available, like, when she calls back and stuff. And so this says something, though, about her personality, which is that I think even when she gets a ray of maybe doing something out of the ordinary, she quickly shuts herself down from doing anything extra. You know what I mean? She quickly decides, hey, I'm not gonna do anything more. Oh, you know what? I can't. And she talks herself out of anything fun, anything enjoyable in her life. She talks herself out of it.
And it's not like she's struggling or anything. She's making good money and all this. So she can go and take a vacation because later on, the son even talks about going somewhere else rather than Africa as they do every year.
Right. So but then Delilah calls her back and is like, start packing your stuff, girl. Look, we going. You said it. She's gonna, she gonna bite. We are going to Jamaica. So we see that, again, Delilah is in San Francisco. Stella's in San Francisco. Delilah is in New York. So they're like, transcontinental friends. Is it transcontinental? Is it? I don't know.
I don't know. They're across the country.
Across the country. Okay. That's what they are. Far across the country from one another. And you know what? Being in the middle of the country where we are, I think about when you call somebody in Cali or call somebody in New York and the time differences there. Can you actually imagine how it is to talk to somebody who's like that? You got 3-4 hour time differences. It's like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
I knew someone in Hawaii, and I was on the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was pretty far.
Yeah, that is pretty far.
And then, of course, I was deployed. So halfway across the world, that was a big difference.
And anybody, I don't know how it is with work, but, we've had clients who were in, the UK and in Ireland and stuff. And, man, when they start, want meetings and stuff, and you start having these meetings at, because the time difference, even 6 hours is crazy.
It really is. And then they're in the future and stuff.
And then they don't have daylight savings time, so it can be tricky because, our time is a certain amount apart at one time of the year, but not the other time of the year. Is very, So yeah, but they got a cross country friendship and they've been friends for like 20 years, and but they decide they're gonna go. And Delilah says, I don't want you to be jealous, girl, because I done lost a couple of pounds. And man, so the things like that you realize if you watch the film afterward that are little hints being dropped along the way. Delilah's not available. Well, why isn't she available when she's always available? But she does call her right back. And then now she's like, oh, yeah, I lost a couple of pounds. So they head on to Montego Bay, Jamaica, and everything is just as beautiful as you would expect. Stella now has braids.
She's on a plane working, though, on the plane.
But she got her braids in. Stella's got her braids. And
of course, that's what black women do when they going on vacation.
Yeah, what is that? I don't know why that's a thing.
So you don't have to do it all the time.
Well, yeah, but
You act like you don't know. That's the thing, because it's like, think about how elaborate, especially in the 90s, the hairdos were and stuff. You got to do a roller set and stuff almost every day if you're trying to look good for, how long was she there? I don't know. Let's say a week.
She was there for,
At least a week.
at least a week.
Yeah. So then she got to do her hair every day and stuff, you know?
Yes.
And just think if she had one of those updos like back in the day.
Ladies, do y'all go get y'all's hair put in braids when you're getting ready to go on vacation? Because now I've been on vacation wearing braids, but I had the braids before. You know what I'm saying? Like I never was like, let me get it done.
Oh,
like
let me
this
do the
just
braids for a
right.
vacation.
And so we saw her. And so but what does this mean, right? What is the messaging in the fact that she goes and gets braids? Not just so she won't have to do it, because realistically, she's only gone for like a week or maybe 2. But
she got to get in the water and
at
stuff
her
too?
job, she can't wear braids. You know, she can't go up in
yeah.
that job with braids. She had her hair straight before that. And, you know, of course it was a wig for the movie, but, you know.
They said, let your hair down, and she did.
But when she's ready to go on vacation, she goes and gets those braids. And so I think it also points to how in her corporate position, you know, she has to conform in ways that, you know, are not what people always, you know, want to do, but you do it for the money, right? Because she makes good money. You gotta meet whatever the expectations of how you look are going to be. And the Crown Act was something that they didn't have back then. So when she came back to work, she probably needed. You know what? I didn't look back at when she returned to work. Did she take her braids out? That's probably why she got the axe. Anyway, that was the thing. They were like, oh, whatever.
I know. She showed up and it was like, she got braids, let her go.
They were like, oh, she braids and so you know, they get to Jamaica or whatever, and we meet Jack and Buddy, who were, like we mentioned earlier, these 2 NFL players that Delilah says that they should get with, because Delilah got there first because they didn't ride together because they coming from different places.
They already started hooking up the fun. She show up. She like, I'm putting stuff in line. We getting our backs blown out for the next week.
Yes. So, but
why did she get? I guess because they're NFL players. But why didn't she try to get any locals though?
I don't know. I mean, because that was just who was there.
You could get that back in the U.S.
Well, you know, so that was what was there. So Jack and Buddy, and they're all there smiling, and when they see Stella, so they're interested, you know, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna give it these 2 ladies, blah blah blah, whatever. And so then a guy comes in. He's walking in because they're in front of the resort at some point, but a guy comes walking in the resort, and then Stella looks at the guy and she's like, ooh, you know, like all of this eye candy all around. But that guy is much younger than these other 2 guys, because Stella, it's already prepping us, because Stella like that young, you know. And so she was really feeling the one guy who spoke to her as he was walking in, not these 2 older guys. Now, at breakfast, when they're eating, she first sees Winston, and, you know, boom, she's like, oh, he's fine. He speaks to her. He's interested in her. And then she has the nerve to ask him if he's a rapper.
That's the first thing. I'm like, wait, this is so strange, so out of place to me. But I don't know what older women were talking about in the late 90s like that. Because she's like 40 in the
Are you a rapper?
In the late 90s. Are you a rapper?
Well,
what?
I don't know. So then we get her inner monologue, kind of like we heard on Waiting to Exhale in the
Out of
movie
nowhere.
At certain points. And so we got her inner monologue, and she's talking about, why don't they come in this making model in my age group? Because she's feeling him, you know, and she's just basically lusting over this guy. And so then he comes over and they introduce each other, you know, talk about who they are or whatever. And then he's like, well, I gave you 2 names and you only gave me 1. And she was like your last name is Shakespeare, you know? And he's like, yeah, my name is Shakespeare. And then he says, you know, Shakespeare was black and so was Socrates. And so I'm like, oh, they just slid that little piece in there, which is like a whole thing that could make a whole video in and of itself, with people, you know, questioning whether or not Shakespeare was actually black as a real thing. And then also Shakespeare, you know, just the rumors and even people wondering whether he was actually real at all, like a real person. So,
and Winston is just basically like, I never seen a 40-year-old woman who looks like you, gal.
Y'all, Heit's accent is killing me at this moment.
That's exactly what he sounded like.
So, but you know, they exchange their ages, and at this point, he's like, how old do I look? And she's like, 25. He was like, for real? He was excited. For real, And she's like, well, how old are you? And he's like, I'll be 21 on my next birthday, bruh. So so then he's like, well, how old are you? And that's, we get the whole thing about her age. I never seen a 40-year-old woman look as good as you. So she's a full and exact 20 years older than he is. Now, Terry McMillan was 23 years older than that dude she met. But yeah, 20 and 40. And so Jack and Buddy, later after this, they go their separate ways, Winston and Stella. But Jack and Buddy are on the beach and they're coming on strong because every time they're around, they're trying to have their double date situation that Delilah done set up. But now, even if she never saw Winston, Stella is not interested in these guys, either one of them. And then you got them trying to, come on strong and everything. And so there's this pajama party that's supposed to be going on. And so then it jumps to later that night. They go to this pajama party. Who is there but Winston? And he comes dancing over in like I don't even know what you call those shirts, like a net shirt. I call it like a net material.
But why did that one dude have a stutter though? Like back in the day, every movie had to have a stutterer to make fun of.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they throw that in. That's like a stutterer trope almost.
Yeah, I got stutterers in my family, but it was kind of like, was stuttering that common back then? Because it was very common in the movies. Well, or it's just easy to make fun of.
It's just easy to make fun of. And probably somewhat acceptable. And you do it right. You set it up. Nobody in the scene laughs at it, but it gives you, the people who are going to laugh, a laugh, or it creates comedy even without saying something.
Shout out to my brother who got his ass whooped for making fun of my uncle's stutter.
What? You got to tell us that story.
I don't know. I don't remember it exactly, but we were on the porch and my uncle came over and stuff, and then I don't know, somehow my brother made fun of him. That's all I remember. And yeah, my uncle told on him basically, and then
and he got in trouble.
Yeah, he got in trouble later on.
So it's crazy. Sherry Latrice, hey girl, hey, it's crazy how braids and locks were unacceptable in the workplace in the 90s. Now you see these styles everywhere, even on network news anchors. Yes.
Yeah. And they're doing everything now.
And I love that it's more acceptable as someone who wears locks, because there were points where only, they would assume, oh, you must be Rastafarian, you're Jamaican if you wear locks. All these different assumptions about people who wear locks.
What about beards?
Well, beards are all the way back
it's
now
like
too.
The 70s.
It looked like the 70s at this point. Yep.
I ain't seen nobody with a fro though, but that's all right.
Casey Brown says that New York Jamaican fishnet tank top. Yeah, it was like a fishnet tank top. Like what? Amina Muhammad, hey, Amina says 20 and 40, no way. Yeah, we got to get to some deep conversation about how the age gap, is that just too old? What's the deal? So so Stella sees Winston at this party and she's just like, oh, hey, Winston, or whatever, and then
he starts dancing like a little fool.
Dancing. And then the way, I don't know why, how he's dancing seems funny to me, but he just starts, dancing like, and whatever. And then she sees him and she starts dancing and they start dancing together and feeling each other or whatever. And then Delilah is seeing this and she's like salty because Stella is supposed to be with the other dude she's with so that they could get their 4-way, freak on.
Yeah.
And so she's upset. So she marches over there and like, who is this? And then, oh, this is Winston and whatever. And so she tries to break it up, but then Winston is like, she like it, so, and then they just keep on dancing and feeling each other and just having the most wonderful time. And so that leaves Delilah having to kind of find, a fourth for them so that they can kind of be balanced or whatever. Cause both of the guys were on Delilah at one point in the party. I was like, wait, what kind of party this finna be? So
it's going to be an AJ Johnson party.
Shut up. So then they start then somebody comes, like the DJ or whatever comes.
Yeah, some MC, she's like, get Bucky.
Yes.
And
And
Buddy
then
done
people
got
just start
bucket.
taking their clothes off and, being topless and everything. And Buddy starts dancing all crazy and he has on a thong and stuff. And Stella is
Bruh.
uncomfortable because she is clutching her pearls because she is just like, what is going on? Delilah's looking around like, okay. But then Winston is just like, oh, let me get you out of here. Winston, bro, you from there. You know how they roll. You know how this goes. Don't even be trying to act like you all appalled by these people breaking it on down and these clothes peeling off and stuff. But anyway, so Stella's uncomfortable and her and, Winston leave or whatever. And so after that, she comes back to her, what do you call it? A villa. And then Delilah shows up to her villa and Delilah's like, oh, you trolling for kindergarten
Bruh.
yards for a date and all of that when she comes to the room and you a jailbait.
They gonna put you in jail for that.
Called him a jailbait hip hopper and stuff like that. And but then Delilah like has a change of heart and she's like, well, but you chicken for not, getting
I don't
with
think it
him.
was a change of heart. I think it's she was down for it, right? But
Yeah.
the extras, right? Like being in an actual relationship, it's always a problem. You're here to have fun. And she's like, the way he moves like that with his clothes on, if he moves like that with his clothes on, then, But the way I saw him moving, that was whatever. I don't know.
It was just the way he was dancing was just
It was
weird.
very weird in real life.
But we are, she's like, we are in Jamaica, so you need to have a fling. And Stella is all resistant, but then they still
And
talk
she
about
like,
how
I'm not
fine
gonna tell
he
if you
is.
don't.
I know,
Bruh.
right? What happens in Jamaica stays in Jamaica. So the next morning, Winston sees her at the pool, and he gets in. As soon as he see her, he's eager. He get in the pool. His boy was like, "Look over there," And so he saw her get in the pool. And then he hops in the pool, and then they get to talking and whatever. And at one point in the conversation, so they repeat the line that Terry McMillan says that she said to the dude that she picked up in Jamaica, which was, well, she said, "Do you want to be intimate with me?" And he said yes, and she said yes. And then he was like, "Don't change your mind at the last minute,
know,
please."
right?
I was laughing at that. I don't know why that was funny to me. But
yeah. So
yes, but and then she refers to his age again. And she's like, I'm old enough to be your mother and all of this and that. And he's like, "Tell me 3 million times how old you are. And that way I won't have to hear it for the rest of our lives." Like he's laying it on thick. And I have to wonder, y'all go to the chat in the comments. Do you
What?
think that at this point he was falling like for her, like he really thought there could be a future?
No.
Or do you think he just was trying to get those?
Somebody's
digits?
there on vacation. He probably do that all the time. He been doing it for, I don't know, maybe a couple years at least.
Mm-hmm.
You see the woman that come over from America, let me just go and get as many as I can.
Well, and that's like a whole industry. But in this case, it was like it was some type of documentary I saw. But in this case, it was many years later after this. But initially, I remember how, they were talking about, Black women going to get, like Stella, going to get their groove back over in those islands. But then they, like more recently, they were talking about how women but these were white women that I saw in this documentary, were going to the islands and getting their groove on. And that like, this was just like a whole industry where they would go and, be getting their backs blown out. And I think they would be sending back money sometimes.
Oh,
And, the
nice.
guys would, and then they would just keep going back. And, that was the industry,
well.
Hey, whatever. You like it, I love it, I guess. So at any rate, then we see them and, they're back in the room and they're kissing and everything like that. And it's going okay. It looks like it's going okay. And then he decides he's going to take some ice and put it on her back.
Bruh, that dude
in the
is
middle
crazy.
of that. I was like, bro, like, you seem a little.
And then she, of course, jumps because, he put ice on her just out of nowhere. She wasn't even ready for it. And then he tried to play it off and just start
flicking her with water.
with the cold water and stuff.
Yeah.
So, they're like, oh, look, it's like a little kid.
So then, he goes in the bathroom after that because he's like, man, I think I just messed it up. And Winston goes in the bathroom and he's like looking in the mirror like, man, pull it together or whatever, because he wants it to work. He wants to be able to, get what he came for.
Yeah,
so,
I need to go in the bathroom, calm down, let things settle. And then when I come, here we go.
So they, of course, wind up doing it or whatever. And then afterwards, they have this pillow talk, and she finds that he's telling about himself, and she finds out that he's interested in medical school because he tells her that he has his degree in biology, and that his father is a surgeon and stuff like that. And then Stella is like, we find out Stella's mother says that she knew she would be the one who would make it out of the projects. And I was like, but your sisters made it out too. But
I didn't know she was a project chick at that moment. Well, until that moment, so.
Well, and this kind of feeds into some of the discussion we've been having lately about how the portrayal of people who, may have lived in the projects at some point or whatever in film. We talked a little bit about Shireen in House Party on our live that we did the other day on House Party on the main Axiom Amnesia channel. And I feel like I wasn't expecting that because she seemed, I don't know, she just seemed a certain type of bougie that I just thought, But anyway, so now what we really find out
she was just stuck up.
Well, that maybe. But what we find out, though, is that there's a class difference in terms of their origins, right? But it manifests itself a little oddly because we have Winston, who's basically from a higher class than she was from, but he's broke because he's young, right? He's only 20. He hasn't had a chance to go in the world and make anything for himself. But when you look at the house that he comes from and he's got servants or whatever, like his family is paid. So he's from this higher class and she's not from that higher class. And maybe this also informs the relationship between and how they view money. Because, they go on to talk about, what she wanted to do with her life. She did not want to do what she does, stock brokerage and anything related to that. She wanted to make furniture. And so essentially she was an artist, right? And then
who wants to make furniture though? That's very weird. You got to just start. Maybe you got a dollhouse and you like, all right, let me start making stuff.
I don't know, but that's what she wanted to do. And then, we get a couple of little gems, life philosophies. And she's like, sometimes you don't know what your life is going to turn out like, not even when you plan it. And he agrees with her. And, she says she doesn't make furniture anymore. And he's like, why? And she said, I make money instead. And but the look on her face was like she had to actually think, like she really hadn't thought about why, and that I make money instead. And hearing her say that out loud, I think made her contemplate something different, right? And she,
I guess, but the idea of having to make money is just prevalent, right? You just have to, right? If you were making furniture, you wouldn't be making money, right? So it's kind of a.
But she looked a little sad,
yeah,
like
of
she
course.
hadn't fully contemplated it before, but So and then the idea of passion too, right? Because she was like, well, what's your passion and doing your passion and whatever. And then they talk about how Winston had put off going to medical school because, he wasn't sure that was exactly what he wanted to do at that time. And I think he, wanted to, be a chef maybe, or, just try something else. Because the other thing, and we talked about this before with another movie, what was that, where we were talking about somebody who was a doctor. But anyway, Winston's father is a doctor. Now he's following exactly in those same footsteps. And we talk about how people are very apt to do similar things as to their parents.
Especially because of the wrangles of class.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be in the same class or similar class as, where you come from.
And how at that medical school graduation we went to, how many of the people who were graduating from medical school, parents were physicians.
Yeah.
And it because they're, if your parent is a physician, then they come and they give you your hood in this ceremony, right? When you're becoming a physician. And so we sat there and we were watching, and it's like all these people, some of them, even both of their parents were doctors. So it's very interesting to watch. And so Winston
was shaming his parents.
Yeah. But they were giving him the space to kind of find himself or whatever. And he's taking a year off. So he wasn't going to go directly, or some time off, take as much time as you need. And Stella could relate to that because Stella was saying that's the same thing her mother told her, but ultimately she wound up where she was supposed to be. She wound up going, and doing whatever, jobs and schooling and, that led to this, making a whole bunch of money that she makes and stuff. So the next day, Winston comes and
he's early. He's dressed up. I'm like, man, why ain't this boy over here trying to look fresh?
I know.
He got his shirt tucked in and stuff, some slacks.
And he's like, I got good news and I got bad news.
He got hired, and then here goes Stella. She all
like
mad.
for some type of chef job, and he's like he
Yeah.
can't make their because they were going to be together all day that day.
All
And he can't
day,
do
every
it
day.
and be in the bed laid up ordering room service on her credit card. But so yeah, she's mad. And she's like, I don't have time for those high school games, Winston. And she's really pissed off with him. And he's like, but I want to see you before you leave. And so she finally agrees to see him. And then we see Stella and Delilah talking on the beach. And Stella's and she says to her, you know, you think you got played, huh? And then Stella confesses that she feels like, you know, she's some desperate old broad or whatever. And, you know, that she's not calling him back, though, when Winston is trying to reach her. And Delilah is like, girl, call that boy back. And then there's a breeze that blows on the beach. And the last line of that scene is Delilah saying,
God's here.
God is here. And then it was just like a very interesting thing that she would say that. But we go on, and Delilah calls Winston back on his job. And initially I was like, I don't know what the cell phone status in 98 exactly was. Maybe, but I don't think cell phones were super widespread at that point. But anyway, so she calls him on his job, and he's not there. And she chooses not to leave a message. So
she shouldn't have even been calling this job.
So she doesn't see Winston before she leaves. She gets back home to her sister.
Why was he working so much, though? That don't even make sense. I just got this job working over here. Maybe I could see you for 2 hours. She's like, how? Well, when can we see each other, basically? And he's like, I'm going to be working every day. And she's like, what about tonight? I'm going to be working. Like, what, dude? You working, what, 16-hour days? Like, what?
You know, and but here's the thing, and maybe I doubt it was really a full commentary on it, but like this is what I think hospitality industry is, though, because if you hear about some of the conditions that the workers like on those cruise ships, or if you work at a resort like the resort that they went to, that you know those folks are working hard,
but they need it, right?
Yeah, and
this guy is,
you
know, he ain't got to do that.
So he's subjecting
just like he put off med school, he could have put off working as the chef's assistant to blow some backs out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
he'd be like, give me a week because I got something I need to do over here.
So, at any rate, they don't see each other. So she arrives back at her house, and her sister Angela is like sitting on the lawn in a lawn chair. She's very pregnant or whatever. And Angela's like, you cradle robber. And the other sister is like, I want to hear about it. So we find out that Vanessa done told Angela, right? One sister told the other sister.
How did Vanessa know?
Because Stella told Vanessa. Because Vanessa tells her, she's like, oh, I'm sorry. But I just had to tell her, you know. So nobody's going to keep any secrets. So they all talking about, you know, each other's business and stuff. And so, Vanessa is very receptive. Vanessa's like, ooh, girl, give me the fine details. I want to hear about how you got your back blown out. But then we have Angela, who is being very judgmental. You should be ashamed of yourself. Da-da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, you got Vanessa.
That young boy must have put something on your ass, is what Vanessa say.
And then Vanessa's also like, but in the meantime, you know, this is coming up and that I'm going to need $300 for my bills if you could help me. And she's like, oh, and I got a little bit of bad news. You know, she didn't have a fender bender in her car while she was gone, too.
See, very different from soul food. Because it's just expected. Is she seen as trash?
No, but the sister does throw it in her face that her life is not together with regard to money.
That's
but you're
very
right
different
now.
than saying somebody is trash and not.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. This is very soul foodish.
They say the whole family on Soul Food was trash because they basically kept asking Cheri for stuff. That's all the sister in here did. Yeah, I don't think she trashed though. I'm pretty sure now that I said it, a lot of people probably gonna think it.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think she was either. And I don't think this sister, I think they just understood what the deal was.
Your role in the family, coming out the projects.
You know, but, so Angela's sitting in judgment. Vanessa is a mess asking for $300, but like, I want to hear every fine detail of how y'all got down. But when she hears about the fender in her car, she was like, was anybody hurt? And then she's like, no, nobody was hurt. And so since nobody was hurt, she was like, well, whatever. And then she says, well, it's only material things and whatever. And she's like, oh, and that's when she says the line that Heit brought up.
Said that. That young boy must have put something on your ass.
Yeah, Vanessa said that because Vanessa was like, you would have normally been so mad, like, what did he do? What did, So you got the one sister saying she's desperate and the other sister who's egging it on. And then, Vanessa gets ready. She's like, well, I'm about to leave now. So Vanessa gets up and hops in a whole ambulance because she's like then pulled up to the house. She's an ambulance driver. Like, why are you just over here on the job in your uniform and everything? So, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was just funny. So then we look at Stella is back at work and she comes into her boss's office. She's like, I can't log on. I'm trying to do this and my files are missing. And
files are missing. How you know your files missing? You can't even.
Well, maybe she meant her
physical
paper files. Yeah.
You
she was like,
in.
I can't do this and this. So then the boss is like, well, the number's
There's
been
the
down
merger,
for a
all
while.
of a
There's a
sudden,
merger.
You're not that important, so we didn't think to call you while you were on vacation to talk about some of the changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then she act like she leaving, and then she comes back, and then she got to give him her mind, and she's like, I built this division.
Yeah.
I may sue ultimately. And she's mad that she was like, well, you were busy protecting your spot, and whatever. So she's all mad about that. And so she gets home and she tells her son.
And her son is saying stuff he shouldn't be saying.
Like
talking
what?
About he got his savings and he can help with them. Man, go sit down somewhere.
She's like, Mama saved up a little to the side, But she does tell him she lost the job, and then that's when they have the conversation about, hey,
very different than Roll
can
Bounce.
we go to Jamaica? Right, very different than the movie Roll Bounce, which we covered a few weeks ago.
Right, and this son was younger than X was in Roll Bounce.
Because in Roll Bounce, basically, if you don't know, what happened is the father lost his job and then he's trying to keep up this facade as if he has a job, leaving the house every day in like a 3-piece suit, knowing he ain't got no job. And he's going out to try to find work and stuff. And he's under the stress and strain of, not having enough money and stuff, but he doesn't want to admit it to his children. Whereas here, she's like, look, I lost my job and whatever. So, they talk, the son is like, well, can we go to Jamaica instead of, Africa or whatever? And so she's like, well, I don't know. We'll see or whatever. So then next thing we know, Winston calls her on the phone.
Long distance from his work phone. And he's at work. And as Amina says,
he got fired.
He was in training, right? So this dude in training, whatever, because he's trying to be a chef or whatever he said he wanted to be. He's sitting on the table calling somebody long distance.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh.
Well, that's how you back in the day. Look at him. Back in the day,
he's
that's
like,
how you used to have to
fire
slide
me.
in. Nah, see, back in the day,
my daddy got 2 jobs.
Okay, people need to understand, if you're one of the young ones, you do not understand long distance and international calling. Okay, long distance calling, when you had a landline, all right, it was the thing where not only did you have your regular local phone company, but then you would select a long distance carrier. And back in the day, they had long distance carriers like Sprint and MCI, and they would be charging you a certain amount per minute because phone calls that were out of your local area would cost extra money. And it could be a lot of money you could run up on long distance, right?
Right. So there was this thing, maybe it was Dateline or something, but there was this man who started a long distance phone company. And you know how they ask you who you want to use or whatever? And he named it, It Doesn't Matter. So people would be like, it doesn't matter. And then they would, that's how he made money.
Yeah, that's how he made his money, because he selected that was the name, right? Oh, it doesn't matter. Sounds good to us. Foolishness. Just foolishness.
And then you know how they do on those shows. Then they have to do it. And then they were like, hold on, what company are you using?
And so the thing is, if you worked for a company, then and you had access to long distance, like some people would sneak and make long distance phone calls from their job. Like if it was just routine, they're not looking at every number you call. But you just can't be on there all day and all of that. People would sneak. And so what he did, that was an international call. But what he did was, something that a lot of people probably would do.
And like if you're a kid and then you
run up your parents' bill.
Or your parents, they're talking to other family, and I want to talk to my cousin. They're like, hurry up, it's long distance. You can't even get any time.
Know how it used to be, because now with cell phones, everything is unlimited unless you go probably like out of the country and whatever. But back in the day, like, this was how they made their money. And it could get real expensive, and you could just get long distance, charges on your phone bill to the point where, your phone bill is hundreds of dollars and you can't afford to pay it, and your phone will get shut off. But yeah, that would be like a whole mess from back then. Case and Brown says, I remember those international phone cards. But it's funny to me when I think about how life has changed since then and the stuff that we do now. Like, you could talk all day and all night and nobody even thinks anything of it. But back then you'd be like, hold on real quick. Bye. That's it.
Let me write you a letter.
But yeah, Winston has called her on the phone and says Delilah gave him the number because he came by. He really did come by looking for her, but she'd already left. Because remember, she did not leave with Delilah because, they're flying to 2 different coasts. So Delilah was apparently still there at the resort after Stella had already left. And so he runs into Delilah. Delilah gives him the number.
After
he calls.
Stella had got a groove back.
Yes. So he calls, and Stella's all excited. She had to put the phone down and be like, oh my God, And so he called and says that he missed her. And she's so happy to hear from him and whatever. He said, I wrote a letter, but I was afraid to send it. And she was like, well, you could fax it.
Bruh, come on now.
Fax it, man. I remember when fax was just like state of the art, like, man, I have a fax machine. And you were real fancy once you could fax like electronically. Oh, man.
Yeah.
The way this technology changes stuff is hilarious. But he talks about, hey, when I get this and that, then I'm going to try to come see you and whatever. And then all of a sudden, mind you, she had just told Quincy she didn't know they need to conserve money and stuff, that she didn't know about taking him to Jamaica. But after Winston called, she was like, well, I had promised to take Quincy.
She lost her job and everything, and she have her little savings, but she like, we're going to Jamaica.
She's like, I need to get some stress relief. And that's what she went to do. So she and Quincy go back to Jamaica.
You want that attitude adjuster.
She introduces the kids to Quincy. And,
who are the kids?
Her son Quincy, who's 11, and I guess the same age her niece, who I'm not sure which sister that the niece belonged to. It could have been Vanessa or it could have been Angela. I'm kind of thinking,
is it the one with the white dude? Maybe
it's probably not that one. I don't know. It's probably. I'm thinking this must be Vanessa's daughter.
Yeah. But either way, so the niece, she's just like she like how the dude look, right? But see, Quincy over there, he in the pool hating.
He is.
He hating bad, talking about she couldn't find a man in America, so she had to get with this young guy. Oh man!
Listen, y'all going off in the
He's
chat.
Hating on his mama.
Case and Brown was talking about minutes free after a certain time, talking about them cell phone minutes. And Amina Muhammad talking about pen pals. Listen, do y'all know these young ones? Do y'all know what a pen pal is? Because that is what people used to be doing back in the day.
In middle school, what we done, everybody in the class wrote a letter and had to send it to a random school somewhere else. And they were like, just basically write it to any school, and then whoever the postal workers will send it, right? And it was like, oh, don't send it to a big city because they might they might not know where to send it to and stuff. So yeah, that was a thing of just sending a letter to random people and hope that they write you back.
Yeah,
you got to tell them about your life. We eat crawfish.
Oh my God. Let me tell y'all, we were talking one day and he was talking about school lunches in Louisiana where he grew up, and I was talking about the school lunches in Chicago where I mostly grew up. And he was like, yeah, we used to have gumbo. I was like, never in the Chicago public schools history did I have some gumbo.
Yeah, well,
we never had gumbo.
Why would you
y'all
have gumbo?
Y'all was getting good.
Nobody in
meals
Chicago
over there,
should be making
gravy.
gumbo.
Y'all hear this? The prejudice of it all. Nobody in Chicago should be making gumbo, he says.
Make me some pizza.
Yes. I just want to remind you guys that we still do have slots for our premium film sponsorship program, which basically means Heit. You could say it succinctly. What they got to do?
All you got to do is you go to axiom.app or to our Cash App, drop $25, and we're going to cover the movie that you want us to cover. but
That's
it's not
right.
for a promotion for filmmakers. If you don't even do that, I really need someone to go to axiom.app and drop a donation, though, so that I know that everything is set up right over there before we go to the next stage of what I'm building, too.
Yes. So, Lyric says, was the gumbo actually good?
Yeah. Yeah, the gumbo was good. When it's so it's mostly during the winter time, they got gumbo and you like, oh yeah, okay. And I think they had potato salad too, but it was like, yeah, gumbo day, it's gonna be packed like chicken day.
Making gumbo without the roux, Randy Johnson said.
What?
Talking about, I guess that's what the people in Chicago will be doing. Listen. So then Bree Beauty says some of the folks nowadays still have pen pals.
Yeah, basically.
You know,
Like
and Jay
actual
Buggin said
sending
that
letters?
too. Yeah, we had pen pals. We were in elementary and our pen pals were in college.
Dang.
That could go wrong.
Like I was telling the story of when I was deployed into a war. That random people wrote us and sent us stuff.
Oh yeah, your care boxes.
Yeah, they would send like care packages and stuff, and yeah, you kind of obligated to send them a letter back.
Yeah.
So it was that sort of thing. But they had this thing where you could send, I guess through a website, you send a message and then they would mail it to us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you could do it online and then send it.
I kind of
turn
vaguely
into mail.
remember some stuff like where you could do something like that. But so Quincy is introduced to Winston, and he was hating at first, but then Winston, because he's young enough to be able to know how to play with kids and know what they would enjoy. They're in the pool and he just takes his clothes off and he's like, Marco Polo, and he starts playing with them, and then any apprehension Quincy had was gone, and Quincy was just like in love with him. He liked him from that point on.
Because he was a kid too.
So then we see Winston and Stella hanging out and whatever, and the bartender sees them, and she's all flirting with Winston a little bit, and then she's like, oh, you and your mother must be, and then so they just played along, right? And they were like, and she's like, you must really have missed your mother. She was like, yeah, I missed her so much. Then he starts tonguing down.
He said, let me show you how much I missed her.
And then she was just appalled, and then she like walks away or whatever. But I think you should always, that bartender was just hating, because you should always be careful about what assumptions you make about people's relationship to one another, especially in a resort or something like that, Randy Johnson talk about no shade to the shy.
They just not a gumbo place.
So then Winston comes back talking about how he quit his job in the kitchen when they were having a little pillow talk or whatever. And she's like, oh, really? She was like, and then she talked about, I quit my job too. Nah, I got fired. So he's like, what? You got fired? And then he's asked her if she's okay. And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And she starts talking about money. I got a little this, I've got money, and da da da. And he's like, I'm not talking about the money. And then he talks about his father again. He says, if my father couldn't practice medicine, it would be like taking away his identity, And so it just really highlights, I feel like, the class difference, because the fact that he always had money his whole life allows Winston to look at money and have a different relationship with money than somebody who desperately needed the money, like to try to get from the projects to where Stella is now as a very successful, woman. And so the next scene we see, Delilah is in the hospital and she's calling and she's on the phone, and Stella's like, what took you so long to return my call or whatever? And then they just talk about Winston. So again, Delilah is able to conduct her.
That phone bill gonna be high. That hospital bill.
Ooh, that hospital bill was gonna get something tagged on it. But Delilah was like, well, I don't know who gonna pay it, because
I might as well.
So they talk about Winston or whatever, and then Delilah reminds Stella, life is too short for us to be BSing ourselves. Like, you like, just go ahead and get with him or whatever. And then Stella is still complaining about how young and inexperienced Winston is and stuff. And, he's like a child or whatever.
And then Winston, he's just being a little immature boy. And he just like takes her to see his parents without telling anybody anything about it.
He's like, guess where we are? It's my
Guess where
parents'
we are.
estate. It's my parents' compound.
She's like, this doesn't look like a restaurant.
It's my parents' compound. And so then they meet his parents, and boy, so Glenn Herman and the actress, oh my gosh, I have to look at her name again because I mess up her name every time. But she played she
the therapist on the
yeah,
Inkwell, yeah.
Phyllis Yvonne Stickney is her name. And
so the father is very welcoming, it seems like,
mm-hmm.
and the mother is all standoffish.
Yeah, because but she just slides the hate in so slick. She's just like, "Are those your teenagers?" Talking about the two kids, and she said, "Yes, that's my son, but they're 11." But the mother was just being shady, like, "Are those your teenagers?" And she is just not happy about it. But the father, he's like like you said, he's more polite, more welcoming. I don't know that the father is thrilled about it, but I think the father probably just like, Winston gonna do what Winston do and da 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 da. But when you see Winston's parents' house, they rich. They got servants running around and everything, and let the servants take care of that. Type of thing is going on. So the mother just corners Stella and is like, look, chick, how old are you? But she's like, how old are you? Let's just cut to the chase. And she says, I'm 40. And his mother is like, I'm 41.
Are you American women so desperate that you can't find a man your own age?
What do you want with my baby? You should be ashamed, man. Like, oh, that was just, oh. But Winston didn't ask before bringing her to his parents, which was like, come on, why would you do that? And so now she's mad, because she's like, I done been blindsided by this. Wasn't able to present myself like I would want to.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. I don't care what dress you came in. She was not going to be happy to see a 40-year-old woman there for her 20-year-old son. That's just the bottom line. So are you American women so desperate? I just couldn't believe she just, and then it was like, you American women, but she calls Winston immature, and he was like, you ain't think I was a child last night.
So everything he does is seen as immature, and especially as the movie goes on. It's just every little thing he does, it's because of his age, right? And we kind of do this with all sorts of people. We find something, and then we attribute that attribute to why they do certain things.
Yeah. So, then she gets a terrible phone call. When they get back to the hotel, she's got a message from Delilah's doctor. So she calls to find out what's going on, and she's like, "Why are you calling me?" He's like, "Oh, you're the next of kin for your friend Delilah." And she's like, "Next of kin for what? What are you even talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, she said she talked to you. Didn't you know she was in the hospital for 2 weeks?" And he tells her, "Look, she's got a serious situation going on, and you need to come to New York ASAP."
Yeah. So why was she the next of kin?
And didn't even know it. Well, because where's Delilah's family? We don't really know.
Like nobody, nothing.
So the doctor explains that Delilah has cancer, and that they had found during their surgery that it had spread to her liver, and that was why she was in the hospital at that moment. But so we see her take the flight, rush to the hospital, and then she's in there cheering up Delilah, and then they talk about things, and Delilah's like, "I'm scared," and she say, "I'm scared too."
Yeah.
And then they sing "Row, row, row your boat," and talk about that. Well, sing that line, "Life is but a dream," And then, of course, it's like in most of these movies, it's kind of like, I don't know, any movie where something bad is coming and the bad comes. You either hear the church bell chime, you hear the old Negro spiritual hum.
But you just see her walk into the church.
Yeah, so you already know. So the next scene is Delilah's funeral in this packed large church. A lot of people knew Delilah. And so she is called up to speak at Delilah's funeral. And she starts to talk, and then who come in the door? And the way they shot it, Winston comes in that door, and he done got his little suit on and everything.
Yeah.
He done showed up in the middle of the funeral. I'm like, bro, why you couldn't get there on
time? He was there
but...
for her when she got the news too, when they were in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
So he's Johnny on the spot, right?
He is. And he's tried to be supportive through whatever, as much as she'll let him be, right? And so while she's speaking in the funeral, she says, who's going to be my best friend now? 20 years behind us, and that's a long time to love somebody. And I just hope you guys are as half as blessed as I was to have a friend like her. And goes on to say, so it was a very sad moment in the movie. And so next scene we see they're in the hotel lobby, and you know how the hotel lobby has where you got the desk, the check-in desk, and then you have like a seating area. So she's walking over from the check-in desk, and she's like, oh, I gotta get up there and I gotta pack and I gotta do whatever else, and she's just talking, and just basically going off and
Yeah.
blabbering about everything. And Winston is just like,
I love you.
I love it. And she just keeps talking, and like he ain't even said nothing, which I think is terrible. Because why do you ignore people when somebody trying to tell you something significant to them and you act like it didn't even happen? Like, that is just crazy. And it's so overt. It's not even like, you try to say, oh, do you want to talk about this? No, you just straight ignored him. Like,
what's she supposed to do?
So
what's she going to do? Say, I don't love you?
Well,
that's negative.
That is negative to say that, but you would acknowledge that the person said something.
Okay, what if she said, all right, thank you. It's nothing.
Well, she could have just focused on how he said he felt, right?
And
I didn't know you felt like that. So after he comes back and says,
and be patronizing.
You laughing? Really?
Oh, I didn't know you felt like that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Let's lean more into that feeling. Come on.
When
did you come to this conclusion?
Yes. So we then have the situation where she's like, you don't love me and everything like that. And then they go back and forth, and
he was a master manipulator. He caught her while she was grieving and everything. That boy, no. He's like, she grieving, I'm going to show up. Bam, tell her I love her. We in there.
Like, I better get on the first thing smoking in New York. I'm just joking. I don't really think that was what was in his heart, but
that's effectively what happened, though.
It is what happened. I don't know that was his intent. I think he was just trying to be there for her. But and she's like, well, my plane leaves. He say, what time does our plane leave? And then I just start thinking, I was like, who bought the ticket? Because how did you even did you borrow money from your parents, or did you have money from your
when
job?
You got money like that, that's what they do. I think, I don't know. I ain't got money like that. Man, he was getting a stipend.
So he had a little money, but anyway, so he's like, what time my flight leaves? So he's like, I'm coming with you. I'm coming. It's us now. So, that's where we are. So now look, Winston finna be there. Winston is there. He is in the house. And, JBuggin88 in the chat says, now that I'm older, I see where the mom is coming from. Get your old tail. Get your old tail on.
All right. So somebody was talking about how they're 39 and I think their son is probably around 20 or something close around like that, right? And they see the problem, but I think it's different when her kid is 11. If your kid is near that age, then that's the issue, right? A bigger issue. And then when the mother is 41 and the woman comes and she's 40, then that highlights this difference here.
Yeah. And I think, all right, so here's my thing. We can't look at the age gap just solely based on the age. What matters is how old is the person who's younger. Because would it matter? I mean, if she was 60 and he was 40? No. Y'all are both well grown and everybody has full disclosure about what's going on. But when the problem here, I feel like, is that when you're 20 years is a lot.
Yeah, but
that's your whole lifetime.
Yeah, but what is the issue? You know what I'm saying? It's like she was wrong, but why? Just because he was younger? Are we talking about a situation where somebody's getting taken advantage of or something? I don't think it was any of that, right? It's just there's this highlight the difference in supposed maturity.
I'm gonna say that maybe that there was an unequal balance of power because she had all the money, she had everything, and so until he's able to operate, he is confined to some extent. Now, not the way that other people who didn't have rich parents would be, because any point he
Right.
pulled the trigger, he could go home.
Or just the classic relationship of where the man makes the money and the woman
Yeah.
doesn't, right?
Well,
so
yes, and
it
so
don't
it
even matter the
highlight-
age. You even the same age.
Yeah,
But
it
so
highlights that.
He just
Yeah.
wasn't into his career yet.
Right.
Right. So that's what if she's 44 and he's 24, but he has his career? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
I think it would have been a lot more acceptable in a few years, right?
Yeah.
Even that same age difference, because then they're more on equal footing with regard to agility of the things that they may want for their life. Like he talked about, at one point, and we'll get to it more in detail, but he talked about everything. You got your career, you got your mortgage, you got your kid, you got everything you want, and I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And he ain't lived long enough to really have anything either.
Right, but see, that was his rationale for leaving, right? That wasn't that she done something wrong because he ain't got nothing.
Yeah, well, and
it's
what
maybe
you said
some
too,
insecurity
he was trying to go have some business about
in him.
himself.
Yeah, get some business about yourself, bro.
But yeah, and Amina Muhammad says Whoopi Goldberg looked just like my mother. My mama. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. And then Elijah EJ Turbo Russ says gumbo was busting in Louisiana schools. My high school needs help.
What school? Were you in northern Louisiana or what?
Okay, listen. For those of you who are not from Louisiana, like myself, and it's not enough that the Louisiana people have their own prejudices against anybody else who claims to make any food that comes from Louisiana, or is popularized there. But then they're prejudiced against what part of Louisiana you're from. Are you from northern Louisiana? Are you from over by New Orleans? You over from Southwest Louisiana?
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's
to
a
me.
thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. If you don't know, it's a thing.
And we're tired of everybody thinking that New Orleans is what's up, and it's not.
Or because that's really the only place that people far from there really know.
People, if you tell somebody you're from Louisiana, they're like, "You from New Orleans? What?" Or you tell them you're from Louisiana, then later on they'll be like, "Because you're from New Orleans." Wait, hold on, bro.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
Amina Muhammad says 60 and 40 doesn't seem that bad. See, exactly.
Yeah,
because everybody's all the way grown. Real
McCoy say, "What does she have in common with a 20-year-old?" I don't care, right? It's like when two people who don't have stuff in common get together, I just look at it as, all right, they don't have something in common, and whatever.
Sage
don't
Luck
make
says,
me no never mind.
Stella has a son. I'm sure she wouldn't want a 40-year-old messing with him at 20.
Maybe.
That probably is true.
Yeah.
Amina Muhammad says, I'm a Midwestern.
A Midwestern.
Me too. Midwestern. But
so do you think it matters about them, the age difference being a reason they don't have something in common?
No. I think people can have something in common at any age. I just think that age could be a reason why, because age, if you're that far, you're going to be different generations, right? So you don't have common memories and history, right? The stuff that most people would bond over with their friends, right? It's like, oh, we sit around and we talk about remembering.
We watch a movie and I got to explain what a fax machine is.
Yeah. So like, or we can't enjoy it because then you go, oh, okay, this, that. And you think about age differences that are not even nearly that, right? Where, like if you think of a normal age gap that siblings can have, right? Then even your siblings, if they're, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, they may have a different experience, right? Because a different show was the most popular show when they were a kid than you. So all those things we would bond
and just
over
the little
maybe
references that people make and stuff. Yeah.
So having something in common is important, but in common could be those shared memories of childhood and nostalgia, but it also could be, we're into the same subject matter.
Yeah.
And that's evergreen. So it doesn't, really matter that, that there's an age difference when it comes to that stuff. But I just think maturity would be the...
Yeah. No, but I'm trying to get at this where it's people be like, oh, it's disgusting or it's wrong, right? And, as you mentioned, maybe the whole power thing is it.
And what I would say for like, because if you're at least 40, right, you could say I'm at least the age that Angela Bassett was at this point, or that the character Stella is. And you think about at 40, would you be interested in a 20-year-old that you could imagine? Most of you guys are saying no. But and even Stella did not imagine being interested in a 20-year-old. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when she was like, if you don't get out of my face, little boy, I could be your mother. Like, so she was saying the same things that other people said about them
Yeah.
when they got together. But,
Yeah,
you know,
but so I think it's just like we always talk about, if you spend time with that person in this sort of way, right, then it's going to inevitably happen. You know what I'm saying? Because they met and it's clear that it's of romantic interest, right?
mhm.
So if you spend time with them, unless they're just so annoying, it's, you're going to get closer and you're going to like the person. So
Yeah. And then
that's
you're going to
just,
want to,
yeah, that's just
yeah,
how it
that's
goes.
just normal. This is why people be having them work wives and work husbands and calling them that and stuff. Because if something was different, if you didn't have your wife or your husband at home, you might be giving that person a chance too. That's who you done bonded with in the workplace for the
Yeah,
hours
so
that you spent together. You know,
yeah.
that's why it's probably
That's
not
why
good to
they
be
make
calling them
movies
that.
like this, because they're trying to address some of those, forbidden love, taboo subjects too, right?
Mhm.
Because it gets you to think about, like, so what is the issue, and to sometimes like normalize it, right? So that people aren't ostracized when they end up in situations like this. But yeah, that's why I like to get into, why is it wrong? We can't just say it wrong. You need to make a clear case for why it's wrong.
Amina Muhammad says, I'm almost 40 and couldn't take a 20-year-old serious, not on everything. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I can
that's a
understand
personal
that.
choice. It's the
Like,
same
yeah.
as, like, I can't take people serious on certain types of things concerning music, right? It's just like, all
Mhm.
right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I get, I get that. But, yeah, I totally get, cuz
Yeah,
I'm just like, I can't even really in my mind fathom what it could be. And it's almost like one interesting thing they say that happens as you get older is that you
yeah,
like people your age and up, right? And within a certain range of your age.
yeah. Especially like when we talk about the music that we like and stuff, when we're like, what? If I'm hanging with somebody and they're trying to play some Lil Uzi Vert, I'm like, wait, what? Hold on, this ain't working out. We just riding, and the music choice is an issue. It's not gonna work out that
Yeah,
good.
yeah. If you switch from, some Luther to it's going to be a problem, and it doesn't I don't. So but this is the part of the culture clash that happens as a result of being different generations.
Yeah,
And so you're
but
just adding and stacking more things that make it less likely, but it doesn't make it
yeah,
impossible, and
right,
it's not solely because of the number of the age.
and it's about those people too, right? If I can't come up with a reason why it's wrong, then whatever, it's just not my choice. I wouldn't do it, right? I don't think I would do it.
Now, what if we talk about we talked about it with Drew in the Inkwell, and now Drew
Ooh,
was young.
Drew
Drew
was
Drew
young.
was 16, right? When he was he 16? I'm trying to remember now.
It
But
was,
anyway,
yeah,
Drew was
somewhere
not of
around there.
age. He was 16. Yeah, he was 16 cuz I remember saying he wasn't
Yeah,
even 17. He was 16, and this grown woman who was not 20 years older than him, but I'm giving her, 27 to 30 at the time. I feel she's at least 9 years older than him. And the younger you are, the
yeah,
more the age gap
right,
matters. You
exactly.
know,
And just is, if we say 20 ain't old enough, then that can be a thing too, right? Because when we say 16, most people gonna be like, yeah, that ain't really old enough.
so when I see a guy, I feel like a 20-year-old guy at 20, probably the max, I'm thinking 25, maybe ish.
Dang.
Because when you get a little too much older than that, and yeah, but I would say by the time he's 25, then a 15-year gap, 10 or 15 year. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But I just think you kind of got to get over the hump of the initial, like, I'm getting grown and figuring out what.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, because the relationship is not the way we have them. is about making a life together, right?
Mhm.
So those are all the issues that we'll get to as we talk more about this movie, though. But that's a big part of,
And if you think about the pressure and the societal expectations, right?
yeah,
So a woman who's older is also going to be expecting more that maybe a younger man might have difficulty delivering, especially in traditional
right.
situations
Which is
regarding
basically
finance
like
and other
the cougar
things.
trope, right? Is
Yeah.
just okay, a young dude can do this one thing, which is kind of how Delilah wanted Stella to do, right? Just go
Mhm.
ahead, get that thing the way he moved, blah blah blah.
And then hit it and quit it. That's what she was basically
Basically.
saying, you know. So yeah. So back to the movie. Oh, and to answer the question, because I saw Imperial
Oh,
Stats.
he
Are-
redacted it,
oh, okay.
retracted
Are
his
y'all
story.
watching the movie live? Yeah. No, we're not. All right. So we're at the point where now Winston is coming back from Jamaica with Quincy, the son, and the little young cousin girl. I forgot what her name was.
Wait, what? Coming back?
They've come back from Jamaica. Well, no. I take that back.
No, we're not there.
Oh, we're not
So
there.
they had the funeral and then they went to the
Oh
to
yeah,
the
they're coming back from
sister's
New York.
house.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
from New
They're
York.
coming back
Okay.
from New York where, Delilah has passed on and they've been to this funeral. So they pull up and they're at the sister's house and they're dropping off. So I guess she was the daughter of Angela because that's why they would go to the sister's house to drop off the girl.
That
Because they
was
come in
Angela's
their car.
house.
That was Angela's house. So it must be Angela's daughter then.
Oh, okay.
Maybe because why would
But
you go
maybe
to
you know the other sisters there.
maybe. I don't know. So
See?
so we don't know. Do you guys know who the cousin, the girl that was there on the trip with them, the 11-year-old that was Quincy's counterpart, his cousin? Whose mother? Who was her mother? Was it Regina King's character? Or was it Suzanne Douglas's character? Because the one who was pregnant or Regina King, in other words, in case y'all don't know. All right. So they pull up in their, car or whatever from the airport. And I was like, dang, y'all couldn't get another different kind of ride. Like y'all got girl, you still ain't got no money. Well, you got money, but you ain't got a job, so you might want to conserve a little bit. You got another new mouth to feed and all. So anyway,
Maybe that was from insurance money.
maybe. So they dropped the cousin off at the sister's house. And then and Winston is like, is that smoke? They're having a barbecue. So then
How come they still ain't tell her?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So they decided they were having this barbecue. The whole family is like there for the barbecue. And who comes out but Vanessa? She's come knocking on the window. Come on, get out. You ain't finna, and so then the whole family eventually winds up coming out to the car.
Yeah.
Because
and one of them is like, Stella's got herself a man.
That is just so messed up. And so then Quincy comes back out and is like, Mom, guess what? Dad's here. So not only Stella's bringing her new man, but now her ex-husband, who is played by Dr. Weber off of Grey's Anatomy,
Dr. Weber
is there as well. And the other thing is we get a little
James Pickens Jr.
Yes. And we get a little insight into Angela and her family situation because we knew she was pregnant or whatever. And then Angela has a husband who is white. And so she's got her nice fancy house and everything like that. And she's hosting and all of that.
She's in her own taboo relationship herself.
So at the party, then they're dancing around and everything. And you see Angela continuing to talk mess. And, I'm not saying I don't like him, but, he's just so young. And it's just, it's blasphemous. It's a shame. She shouldn't be with this young boy, basically. I'm like, dang, why y'all got to be, does this have to be the conversation you have every time you see that person? So at the party, though, Angela starts dancing with him. And then she just tells him that she loves him. She tells Winston she loves him.
An impulse. Something going on with an impulse control disorder or something. She blurted out, you want to make love or be intimate with me?
Oh, she
Would
did.
you like to be intimate with me? And she blurted out, I love you, Winston. And like, well, come on, what's going on?
Yes.
Or is that you just faking? Acting like you just blurting things out, but you planning on this.
So Winston starts talking to her ex-husband, and the ex-husband, Dr. Weber, is giving advice on dealing with Stella. He's like, "You got to do this, and she need a man who's gonna stand up for herself." And da 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 da. And then Winston is like, "Did that work for you?" And then he's like, "Nope." And then they just both
Yeah.
start laughing.
Why is her ex trying to give him advice,
I
though?
know, and stuff, but he seemed cool. Like it could have
Yeah.
gone so ugly.
It was so different than his family, though.
They were all.
But even though it wasn't that many of them, but yeah.
Yeah. And so after so the family gathering worked out at the end of it all, right? So they get back to Stella's house, man. You all know Stella's house was so nice. And her son basically is like, let me give you a tour, and he shows him around the house and all. And he shows them her workroom or whatever where she used to build furniture. And her son is like, "Oh, Quincy, I want to talk to you man to man to Winston." And he's like, "She really likes you." And basically he's telling him, don't break my mama's
doing
heart.
some stuff
He's
again.
acting like I'm the grown man of the
Yeah.
situation.
So he over here, he's just being weird.
Yes. And so
And then, so basically Winston responds to him, right? Because Quincy, he want to talk to him man to man. Winston responds like to stroke Quincy's ego about as long as she got you.
You're everything. You a good man.
Yeah.
That's a good man. That's a good man, Savannah. That is his character, even though he is a child. And he's saying it to the actual dude. To egg him to be good.
I'm talking about what Winston told Quincy.
Oh, what Winston told Quincy. Oh, okay, yeah. He is buttering
They're
Quincy
in a little
up.
guest house.
He's like, as long as she's got you to protect her, she's
Yeah,
got,
blah, 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 blah.
she's
Come on, bro.
doing good, whatever.
He's manipulating that little kid.
You're right, he is.
He's still, even though the kid may see him as almost equal, but I still don't get it. Like, at that age, I don't know if I think somebody in their early 20s, I don't know if I viewed them as young when I'm that young.
Yeah, they still grown.
Yeah.
To you. So, but they start settling in kind of as a family, and next thing you know, in the middle of the night, Stella is up crying, and Winston comes in, and she's just like, he's looking at her like, what's wrong? And she, confesses that she misses Delilah. I miss my friend, and she just wishes that she could call her. And when I tell you, Winston came over and he comforted her, and he just like held her and whatever, and just let her cry the ugly cry. See, like, this be the part that in these books, in these novels, in these everything, because man, he just seemed so emotionally mature.
Right, but
that it was just like, okay.
Exactly. So they show how he's the perfect guy and all this, right? And then because he's there at all the right moments, he really did a number on her in that moment that she was grieving. But then they get to the part.
So skeptical.
They get to the part in the movie where it's just basically we're going to highlight how immature and young Winston is.
But she does. She says that was my best friend since forever, and that's a long time to forget. And he said, you don't have to forget. Like, to me, shows his maturity. But like you said, the flip side of that is he's gonna be eating cereal.
Yeah.
He's gonna be.
So then they show him playing video games because he's young.
Then they go to the movie, and he wants to see the young movie.
Yeah. When they go to the movie, it's some girls walk up, and I don't know, was Stella looking a little insecure because it was some young women?
Yeah.
Or was she just like that because she was like, I'm doing this young thing there. We don't have this stuff in common.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a bunch of young people, and then, they watch, I don't know, I forgot the name of the movie. Somebody, You Got Nerve, You Got Some Nerve or something.
On My Nerves.
On My Nerves.
It was called, yes. And literally the movie was on her nerves. She didn't really enjoy it. Winston is in there clapping and laughing, and she hated the movie pretty much. And, then they come out of the movie, and they're, walking, about to go back to the car or wherever. And who do they bump?
No, but that really did remind me of like my mama, right? She... like, you used to have to rent movies and stuff, right? And then we would get movies, and she'd be like, oh, I don't want to watch that silly movie.
Man. I mean, but it's just like, you would trying to find a film that's everybody's going to be happy with is very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
And these were like adult movies, right? Too. So, that's just a big difference. Well, so-called adult movies.
Yes. So they go to the movies, and after they're coming out of the movies. Who do they run into but her sister Angela and her husband? And remember that judge that had called her on the phone when she saw that commercial for Jamaica? Well, the judge is there on the double date with some other chick who, I guess, did answer the call and decided to go on the date. And the exchange is like crazy because first they introduced the sister is like, oh, and this is Winston, and she's all disrespectful to Winston when she's introducing him. And then the judge is like, hi, or whatever. And the girl that the judge is with, when she gets introduced to Stella, she's like, hello. And you all know that black lady head crank. Y'all know that neck crank. Like she says that when she says hello. So she's smiling and trying to say hello nice, but her body language is delivering like, get your eyes off my man. When ain't nobody even looking at your man because she had a chance to go out with him and turned him down. So, chill, lady. But anyway, so then after this awkward encounter, Stella the next day goes to confront her sister Angela because she's pissed, and she's over there and she's just like, why you got to be so disrespectful? He gonna be around. That's my man. He gonna be around, so you might as well get used to it. And then her sister's like, but aren't you scared? And basically, aren't you? And she's like, don't you think I know this? And this was, I think, an important moment. Because while the people who don't like how something is going down are busy telling the person, oh, don't you see? Don't you see? You old, he young. You old, he young. You old, he young. You black, he white. You ugly, he whatever. Whatever they're saying about the differences between you and somebody, right? That don't you think the person already knows this? Don't you think they already know this? And that's the part where the people around the folks, they're only obsessed with what they want in their own, what they want, right? You don't even care about your sister's happiness. You just worried about, adhering to societal norms and whatever. And maybe a little afraid that she'll wind up divorced the second time, and maybe that'll be embarrassing to you that she's a twice divorced woman or whatever.
Yeah. But so also as a sister, it may be that, okay, it's wrong because of what society expects, especially in terms of like what they talk about later on, what it means to be a man and providing and all that. And he hasn't even gotten to the point where he has solidified his career. And that's a lot of it. And to be child rearing and stuff when you're that close to the age of the children. So, yeah.
But, they
so
have
I think it's somewhat legitimate in that sense, right? But that's their family too, right?
Yeah.
So then I can understand that the sibling would see that something's wrong. But me as just an outside observer to somebody else, then, yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're close like a sibling, but at the end, you've already voiced how you felt. It's not like she didn't say it. Like, you run it into the ground. Every time I see you, we not having this conversation. You know? And so that is like also what I think is a valid reason.
I don't know. It depends
Stella
how bad
this
you think the thing is. Because, I might have to tell you need to get some help for that crack addiction.
Well,
every time I see
times.
you.
But something like the choice of a person who is of age and, whatever,
I'm like I said, it depends how bad they think it is, right? So I don't know. But they didn't make it seem like where from their standpoint that they thought he was doing something wrong to take advantage of her, or, you know what I'm saying? But maybe they should have went more into his mother's side too. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have been it would have been better to know more about him, period.
Exactly. And what his mother was telling him about this. All we know, we don't know much about what influenced his thoughts on the situation either.
He was interestingly, heavily influenced by his father. He didn't even say nothing about his mama.
Yeah.
He didn't say nothing. Not in any of those bedroom conversations he had. All he ever talked about was his father. And we met his mother. It ain't like they weren't together, and clearly she influenced his life, but he only talked about his father. And that was interesting. But they have a breakthrough, Angela and Stella do, kind of, where, Stella admits like she has her insecurities about the situation, but at the end, Stella's like, I done fell. Stella done fell for
I done
him. It's
fell.
too late. Like, don't. She's probably like, look, everything that on paper is like, no, 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 no. But my heart says yes, or whatever the situation is saying yes. I done said yes. I done fell. That is her. That was the dilemma in that moment. And he was of age and everything. And, is it morally wrong? I don't think we can say it is. It's concerning on some levels because maybe it doesn't seem fair. And like she says in the movie, he hasn't even ever had his heart broken. Like, this is his first love. This is his first of a lot of things, certainly probably the first woman he's living with and having such a serious relationship, all of that,
Yeah.
But then we see Stella in a restaurant and she's in there with Winston, and it's like a fancy shishi foo restaurant. He's looking at the bill. She must have been gone to the bathroom, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I can cover it," And so when
But he looked at it like it was too much.
Yeah. But he was like, I'm going to pay it because I'm trying to be a man. So when he comes back, when she comes back from the bathroom or whatever, she slides her credit card like, boom, I got this, whatever. And he's like, no, let me pay. Let me pay. And then they get into this
you should
whole
know your
argument.
role.
What is his role?
His role is to get paid for. She know you ain't got no money, bro.
He was like, I just want to pay for one meal.
He could barely pay for it. You seen the look on his face when he looked at that bill, bro. Come on. She just got to get it, man.
So.
You signed up for this.
So he, they fight over who's going to pay the restaurant bill. He wants to pay.
Yeah, but
he's
Stella.
like, let me be a man. You always talking about me being immature and I'm trying to be a man and do the things a man should do. And,
Yeah, but Stella also was like, you can't afford it. So.
Yeah. And so then he gets into like, are you ashamed of me? And talking about the exchange that they had. And he's like, I can't change being 20. You knew what we were dealing with before I came. And then he pays the bill and leave. And then his mic toss is like, and if you just need to, then you can go ahead and you could pay the gratuity or whatever, the tip.
The tip.
And I'm like, bruh, so what if she wasn't gonna pay the tip? You didn't have enough for the tip. Let's just call it what it is. But
he had to make a scene to run out of there.
He did, and he ran out of there. And so then we see him at home and they're sleeping back to back, not really sleeping, but laying in the bed back to back. So, that's supposed to indicate that they are just on the outs right now. They not feeling each other like that because they supposed to be spooning. Okay.
Oh, wait. So, man, hold up. So, but some other interesting things came out of that exchange where she talked about, he want to watch booty, talking about their differences, right? And how they don't have stuff in common. He wants to watch Booty Call and Lion King.
Yeah.
Booty Call was funny, man.
Yeah, it was. But see, then when
Lion King was good. Think about now, we got people 60s watch the new Lion King, right? So this is a little different. We're talking about how people thought of things in the 90s, even the whole part of like playing video games.
Yeah.
A 20-year-old playing video games was like, man, you're so immature. But you got people in their 50s probably now playing
video games. Because it's a video
games.
game generation, And so now they are older.
Yeah. And how he watched the Disney Channel. Come on, bro.
She's like, you want to watch the Disney Channel?
I was watching the Disney Channel, but Cheri told me I'm too old to be watching the Disney Channel. I watched what was it? Casey Undercover.
Casey Undercover.
And I started watching the Raven whatever one.
Well, the thing that's cool about that is because her father is Kadeem Hardison, who of course we know from from A Different World.
Exactly.
Dwayne
but
Wayne.
Raven Simone, I grew up with Raven Simone. Right?
Yes.
So it's like somebody in I think it was the last stream asked us about the Proud Family. I don't know the Proud Family. I have to watch it, right? The movie and the series, right? I don't know That's So Raven, so I have to watch it. And that was the black people that's on Disney Channel, but I don't know anything about them and what they were doing over there.
Yeah. I just think that whatever you watched as a kid may be what you want to go back and watch. But if you didn't watch it as a kid, but there's some like tie to it.
Yeah.
Because what's her name? Casey Undercover.
Zendaya.
Zendaya. Yeah. I never knew, I knew who she was because I knew she was around, and I remember her being the one that they were going to pick for the Aaliyah movie, and she wound up not
Oh,
playing that, and
yeah.
Alexandra Shipp played her instead. And so, she was on my radar, but I was like, I never seen it. And then we watched Euphoria.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. That was such a good series up to this point. And I mean, I guess we're still waiting for the next season, but it was amazing, and I was like, okay, I got some respect for her. But like, if you don't know the person and then you're not watching content that is for people of that age group, then you just don't, you miss out because you just don't know,
Yeah. So like, but for a guy in his early 20s to be watching the Disney Channel seems weird. Even for that time, I don't even think I knew Disney Channel existed then.
I don't know.
In the 90s.
I don't know. I might have.
But like,
he watching Disney.
He watches
the
Disney Channel? Like, what you watching on there, bro? He was watching Drake and them or whatever it's called.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, but, So, but they had these differences in what they were watching.
Rugrats. Yeah, Rugrats was good, but it depends on when you started watching it, I guess, probably. But I don't know. I don't know if I was watching Nickelodeon in my 20s either.
Yeah, see, stuff that came out once I was grown, meaning grown, I was called grown anything over like 25, right? Because you're if you're still in college age, you're still kind of leading a life that is influenced by just a non-traditional lifestyle, right? Because it's around your college classes and all that stuff, right? If that was your experience. And so you're just younger and have more, but once you hit that 9 to 5, maybe you're not watching that same stuff.
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't know. But
I just watched the news my whole life, really.
I did that too. Well, that was when I was a kid, I was that's that my parents were going to watch the news, and the people I was around watched the news. It wasn't 24/7 when I was a younger kid. It was like, okay, the news came on when you first, when my parents first got home.
They come home at 5.
Time, then it's coming on at 10.
You got 5, 6. You got the 10. You got the late shows, the talk shows that come on after that. You got the news in the morning, all morning basically. You got the midday news.
And Asia was talking about Degrassi.
Was that on
but
Disney
Degrassi
Channel? That was later.
But I'm the original Degrassi.
Oh, in the 80s.
See, that was like the one I knew of. By the time you have the Drake Degrassi, I'm not watching that. I wasn't necessarily watching and I didn't watch Degrassi, even the original one, that much. But it was way more on my radar than this one. Than the Drake one. But yeah. So they had their fight, and like we said, they went home and they're laying in bed
to run
back
down
to back.
all the immature things he was doing.
And laying in the bed back to back, he shows her, he's like, come here, let me show you something. And so he shows her that he cleaned up her furniture workroom. And then they make up because, now the little furniture making room is clean. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. And then they hug and they make up. So then we see her at her job, and they're all telling her, in your absence, it has become clear how important you are to this firm.
She was putting them lawyers on them, and now all of a sudden they want to give her a job.
They can see her importance. Okay. And they probably stuff started hitting the fan without her there because, see, people don't ever want to, respect your gangster while you're there. And then when you leave, they're like, this is what we want to do. So they say executive VP, $275,000 to start plus incentives. So how much? Let me look this up. How much is $275,000?
Wait, that was base?
Yeah.
Dang.
19.
And that's without even her. I'm pretty sure they got commission in that job, and plus all of the other perks that you got with it.
Let's see. They say that is equivalent to $781,000. Wait, $522,000.
Okay.
basically $523,000.
Dang, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's her base.
Dang.
So she was doing good. I mean, San Francisco
down.
is expensive though.
Well, it wasn't like that back then.
Yeah, she was getting paid. And so this is what they say. But then she's back at home after this, and you know, we find out when she's talking to Winston that she turned him down.
Yeah.
And she was thinking like, hey, I could do this on my own. And then she's like, I was stupid for thinking I could do it on my own.
Like, I got to get a website, a letterhead, a company name. Like,
but Winston was encouraging her because at
you
first,
mentioning small things.
She was like, I can't do this. But Winston was like, yes, you can. You can do this. And everything is going to be okay. And so then
she was in 98 talking about she got to have a website.
She was like, I need a website. I need a
website was very easy to have back in those days.
I know. But then, he's like, well, I got you something. She was like, you don't have to give me anything, Winston. And boom, he pulled out that little box, that ring box, and sits it there. And
it's a wedding band.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't afford no diamonds. And his parents ain't paying for no diamonds.
Yes. So she was a broker. Okay, yes. She's a stockbroker.
Oh, what did you say?
I thought I said she was a stockbroker.
Uh-huh.
But maybe she was another kind of financial broker. But anyway, and she's like, my heart says yes, but basically let me think about it. So she don't want to give him a yes. She just puts him off. So then we see her talking to some people and whatever. And I guess it's some event because the kid is there and everything, and maybe a school event, something. And he's just got an attitude. And then they get to the car and they're walking, and she's like, what is your problem? You've been funky all night and da-da-da. He like, what's my problem? Hold up. Because you left me on red for a week. I asked you to marry me a week ago, and now you still won't even tell me what's up. I know. So they start arguing.
How long
and
should I have to ask?
Yeah, like give me an answer. What you mean? Think about it. If you got to think about it, then let me rescind my offer. That would be what I say. And then they start
going at it, and Quincy gonna jump in grown folks' business.
Yes,
bruh.
Quincy was like, "Don't be talking to my mama like that." And he didn't even really get disrespectful or anything like that with her. He wasn't disrespectful. And so then, they go home or whatever, and she's brushing her teeth later, and he's all in the shower.
Bucky.
And I was like, why did y'all have to have the gratuitous backside scene for Taye Diggs? He can't even hardly get in a movie, and you'd have made him show his backside. So anyway, he's in the shower, and then they have the infamous shower scene. And she goes in the shower. She goes in the shower fully clothed. I was like, okay, I see what you did there.
She wanted it bad.
She wanted, and Angela Bassett was like, but guess what? I am not getting ready to do any type of nudity up in here. So she went on.
She went on up
and
in
they
there,
do the do.
and then they got in the bed, and then it's very disturbing that she cried when he busted inside.
They both was looking crazy.
She was crying.
But
she
was
had tears
crying, and it just looked horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And she was sad. And then when they showed his face, he was sad.
She realized that she had been taken.
Well, you said, I was like, because I said, let me unpack this, because I hadn't seen this movie in a second, and I hadn't really fully examined this part of the film. And I was like, well, maybe she let him hit the root. I don't know.
Okay, Alexis
K. Tyler. Y'all don't, if you know, you know. But,
see, a young person, too young would know that.
Is not going to get it. But all I can say is she's still, the old videos are still on YouTube.
I think I seen a clip that's starting to make its rounds again.
Asia says, so she wasn't crying because it was so good. That's, and no.
So they both knew that it was over, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had all that same stuff that happened. She wouldn't answer him about getting married and all that. So they know where it's going. It's just like, all right, this one last time before I quit your ass is where it was.
Yes. And so that's what it really is. And so, and I remember actually when Asia said that, it made me think about how I originally thought. And I remember now when I saw the movie originally thinking, wow, that must have been good. Like that she didn't brought a tear to her eye, which is why when they break up, it was a little weird to me. But I think I didn't catch that. But looking as a fully grown woman at this point, it's like clear, like it's over. This is the last hurrah.
Yeah.
This is everybody realizing that, it's a wrap.
And basically, Winston, he just got up and left because he wasn't man enough. And that was it.
Oh my gosh. Let me give y'all a better detail.
That's what happened. He wasn't man enough.
Basically what happened, but the next day they're like, oh, we need to talk. And then he says that, a real man will be making things easier for you. You got a lot on your plate, and a real man will be making things easier for you. And she's like, money is a sad reason for folks to be together or be apart. And he was like, but life is easier with it.
Ooh.
I said, look at this boy.
And then he's like,
gems.
You have a mortgage, a kid, and a career, and I have nothing.
And I'm not satisfied. That's what he said.
Bruh.
But see, this is what I think is wrong with some of the folks in the world. That was a sign that it could be okay with a Winston, right? Because he said, I'm not satisfied. Some people would have been like, you got all of this and that. Well, just go on and share it. They don't think about that. Maybe they should develop themselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just, I'm okay. Well, just,
But see, that it does highlight the thing, right? Like I was saying, the only problem with their relationship is the money and that sort of a balance there too, right? That you talked about. But she gets more philosophical on us, talking about money's a sad reason for folks to be together or apart. That's one of the hardest lines in any of our movies I've ever heard.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because when you think of it, like, so much of the need to kind of be in a group and all of this other stuff is because of money, because of the need of money, and because
and it indicates, it shows who your friends are, right? If like her friend, she can go and pay to go to Jamaica with her and stuff, right? You got people, they're not going to be your friends because they can afford to do the things. And I think we talked about this on something before, where people are talking about, okay, you got a friend and one of the friends can't afford to be going and doing these things, and somebody has to always pay for them and stuff. And it kind of, because of the world we live in, it strains the relationship, and then they probably end up always not being in that friend group anymore, all because of some money. And then if they can't afford these things, then we start to look at that person as if it's a deficiency in them, or looking for the deficiency. Like, how come they don't have enough money?
It must be your fault. Let me figure out how it's your fault. Yeah. And so ultimately, he tells her, I realize that I am ready to go to medical school, and I am heading home on a 10 o'clock flight. Basically, it'll be easier that way if I leave.
That's it.
And so then, he comes out and he's getting ready to leave, and he says, I love you. And she doesn't respond to the I love you. She just lets it ride, just like she did the first time he said it. And then Winston leaves by cab, and it's raining and everything. And, he arrived at the airport and stuff. Stella had known a shortcut, because Stella is already at the airport waiting on the stairs, looking down at him to, for when looking for him to come in. I don't know. Stella must have flew. She materialized herself at the airport.
She wanted that D bad.
She was like, I'm going to get my man. So she was at that airport looking, and he saw her, and she was like, you ever consider Stanford? And
then she said, yes
to his proposal. Look, he had already rescinded it. He should have told her, listen, when I finish school, I'll come back for you. You can wait or not.
It would be a much better movie if they did not get together in the end.
Well, I think, okay, so listen, now we're into fan fiction by Axiom Amnesia. Okay, so here's what I think should have happened. I think that he should have left. She should have gone to catch him. He should have left, and she missed him, right? So she gets there too late, and the flight, you see the plane taking off, and then she's like, okay, that's it, because that's her personality, right? Oh, if I missed it, I missed it. So she goes back home and lives her life. Then, and she's still living, and Stella gonna be Stella. Ain't no man coming around, and she ain't giving nobody a chance. So she just continues working and whatever. And then when he is done with medical school or whatever, or somehow he shows back up and he's like, I'm ready now.
Okay, so
are you
it could be that Delilah doesn't die, but she's very sick. And then he starts to work on something that basically can benefit her.
There with it. Yeah.
And then he comes back and they meet up because maybe she's in a study that he's doing or something,
Delilah's
right?
like, I was able to live because of this study.
Yeah.
And here's
then,
my doctor, and he walks out the room.
Walk out, bam. Then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, now that's how you do it. But, I say that. Now,
So I'm writing a novel now that they can adapt.
you know, call us up. We gonna tell you how it should.
We gonna tell you what to write. We ain't gonna write it.
Y'all can write it, but we gonna tell you how it need to go. But yeah, and because I want to go back to say I don't think he was giving up on her. You know, right? Kaysen, Winston, is that you? Winston, is that you? Yes. That's what she would have been like. Winston? What? And he's like, yes, I'm the head of whatever, over here at oncology and da. And I started researching. What I didn't tell you, I was always into research.
Me and my father came up with a procedure to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it need to go down. So, because we never knew what kind of physician his father was.
He just said some surgeon. So.
He could have been doing surgery for cancers, different types of cancers and stuff. So, at any rate, I think he intended to come back for her. If he could, I think he was gonna go and make himself better and then try again.
That's better than stick around here because all the same issues are there. They're gonna have these fights over who's paying for the dinner and stuff. If you in medical school, like that doesn't go away
it's
just
still,
because
you're gonna have some debt coming in,
bruh.
But your parents will probably help you out if you're doing what they want you to do, right? So, he probably ain't gonna come out with that much medical debt.
This basically like being her son.
Yeah.
Who's in school.
Bruh, now we back to square one. Yeah, I'm old enough to be your mother.
And just because she say Stanford, does that mean that he gets, what do they call it, matched?
Yeah. Well.
Oh, he just go to the medical school.
After, you get into the medical school first.
Yeah, but then what he's going to do after that? You're married
he might have
at
to
that
go
point.
Someplace else.
Bruh, see?
I don't know.
It's not working out.
I don't know how that works. But so, that's the situation. And all right, so let's talk about what we think happens. Not the real life story, because that kind of got ruined from the beginning. But what do we think happens after
from the beginning?
What do we think happens after the cameras stop rolling? Because that's essentially what happens, right? She's there, and then they hug, and so we're to believe that they do get married and everything else like that.
I think that he goes to a medical school in Jamaica. I don't know if they have medical, what that's like, or their track there. I think he goes do what he was going to do in Jamaica.
I'm sorry.
And that's it. It's over.
Jason Brown got me cracking up. Winston, Delilah, and Winston's father were in cahoots the whole time in my Morgan Freeman voice.
That's crazy.
I know, in that Shawshank Redemption voice.
Remember we were talking about gumbo and stuff?
Yes.
So did you hear what Elijah said?
No.
He said y'all had good in South Louisiana. Up here in the north, women do not know how to cook a school lunch to save their life.
Oh my goodness. Well.
We always joke about that, and people in the north always like, no, we cook too. We're good.
Well, that's that intra-Louisiana fighting that is not my business, so I'm going to stay out of it.
Bruh.
But Asia says, I feel like Winston's mom would push him to marry and give her grandbabies. Well, look, if you're going to be with her, you got to make it happen. To go ahead and marry Stella. And, after just speed it up. I don't know.
See, the mama might not ever like Stella.
That could be true.
Yeah, things like that, when it happens, it's just, well, whatever.
And they're going to be in it for the long run because they the same age.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So let's just talk about a couple of, now that we have made it to the end of the film after a 2.5 hour breakdown of what actually happened. Was this a good movie?
As a romance, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was good.
Okay. Was Winston, I think it was a good movie. I think the acting, of course, was superb. I think it presents a dilemma that we should all be kind of considering and thinking about and talking about even now. And the one biggest dilemma was Winston too young? Is the issue that Stella was too old, or was Winston too young? Or does that mean the same thing to you?
I just think that capitalism was, in a way, that's the thing. That's it. That's all the issues. But I guess those commonality things, but I guess he was too young because he wasn't in a point in his life where he should have been trying to settle down and basically have a family. It's kind of like what people joke about Kane, right? That Ronnie wanted him to go off and be a stepdaddy at 18, right? Like you're still, her life is almost settled in, right? You got these obligations and responsibilities. Kane, well, he left that one girl, but you know what I'm saying? But Taye Diggs, he has Taye Diggs. Winston, he still doesn't have those same responsibilities as Stella because, he ain't got no kids or nothing. So he can't take this time to get to a better point financially to then settle down and live his life. Otherwise, he won't have a life that's that desirable, right? Because if he don't go off to school and do whatever, then maybe he's just working in the service industry down there for tourists in Jamaica.
I think, was Winston too young? I think Winston was too young, but
too young for what?
I think Winston was too young for, immediately going into getting married and all of that. But the reality is, for some of the things that he wanted to happen, it would need to move quickly you know what I mean? Like if they were going to have, some kids or whatever, or even one, then, they got to get on that, just gone ahead
but
and
they
seal
talked
that
about
up.
that, and I don't think she was going to have another kid.
Well, but sometimes things change,
Yeah, they do,
but so
they didn't resolve any
that
of
could be something that got negotiated later. I don't know. I think she might have been open to other things, given once she fully committed to everything. Maybe, I don't know. And maybe, maybe it would have happened, but the point is they had plenty enough money to make it happen at her age, if that's what they wanted to do. Cause that's, people, have kids all the time at that age.
Yeah.
So, but they would need to move it along quickly. So the part of this choice is that they did not have the luxury of time for some of the time sensitive things. So in other words, it's not like, hey, just, have some long engagement for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. Whereas I think that if it wasn't the issue of like the family part, then if he could have just gotten through school, date or some, you know what I mean? Just keep dating or whatever, being engaged, whatever you want to do. But do that and then like have that full on commitment. That might have been a better choice, but I don't see a way to do that. Be in medical school, be here, have the kids you want to have. I don't see a way to have it all.
But yeah.
It just wasn't a way to have it all.
What about the idea of her chasing her dream? Right?
What was her dream?
Whatever this furniture's
the
foolishness.
furniture. Okay. So, yeah, I just think she should just do the furniture. But see, I don't even think she was going to do the furniture. Right? I don't think she still was going to do the furniture,
I don't think so.
Because her business was going to be still in pursuit of the money and
right. But they throw that in there as if it's something she could do. But we had someone in the comments who was talking about how you could, make money designing furniture or whatever, right? But it's at a point where you would have to find your own lane to do that, right? And when we talk about Crooklyn, we talk about Woody and his dream of playing the music he wanted to play and all of that, and he's a bum because of it.
Yeah,
right. Because
he
eventually,
had kids and a wife,
right? And he just happened to be in a situation where he didn't have a lot like Stella, right? But when you have more, then chasing your dreams and pursuing these other things, it seems as more admirable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you pour it and you don't get a chance to even go after anything you want.
This is why Winston say money make it easier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Money makes it easier. And because they had money, they were definitely in a better position for their situation to be successful all the way around.
Yeah. And to just be like, yeah, here, you could go ahead and spend the next 6 months making furniture.
Yes. So Case and Brown says, hi, I agree. Her and Stella would have never gotten along, talking about Winston's mother not liking Stella. And Sherry Latrice says, regarding whether this was a good movie, it was all right. Asia says Winston's brain was not fully developed. And we always hear that and they say that and everything.
Yeah. But what does it have to be developed to do?
But what I'll say is
That's my
that
thing
a lot
always.
of people's brains weren't so back in the day when people
Okay.
had families young, forget the age difference here. Back in the day, it would not be uncommon for a man who was 20 to be getting married, be married, working a job and taking care of his family. And nobody was like, your brain isn't developed and therefore you
Yeah.
can't take care of your family. And somehow generations of men did this, right? So, you know,
What
and
about
um,
what about some people's brains fully developed or beyond other folks' fully developed brains?
that's a whole nother
You know what I'm
story.
saying? So, and it's kind of like, okay, you can make all these other choices, right? Do we bring up issue with every other choice somebody's making in their early 20s because their brains aren't fully developed? And what does that even indicate to have a so-called fully developed brain?
Well, and
Because I think how much different is my actual logic and reasoning at 16 and 21 besides the data that's input, right? The information and knowledge that I have.
hmm,
You know what I'm saying? Like what and which parts are developing too? Which parts
hmm,
are not developed?
you know, so
I
Grape
could go
Tea
all
News
day on
says
subjects
you
like
making
that
the
though.
case that men should not be stepdaddies, especially when you're young. You have instant expectations, responsibilities, and you have to provide. Okay, I would never make the case that a man should not be a
Well,
stepdaddy.
that's basically what I'm
But
saying. But my point was that we're in capitalism that makes these things like that's the only reason I bring it up, right? It's started to say also, if you don't make a lot of money and you bring children into the world, it's going to be very hard for you and the child. But I don't say you should not be having kids. I'm just
right,
explaining the
the
situation that the
complications that
complications,
result
yeah,
from
and the
being in a
issues of the
certain
society that's
circumstance.
set up that we were born into.
Yeah, and the not fair parts of it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then Stella should Grape Tea News also says Stella should have just paid for Winston's
Bruh.
services and kept
He
it
didn't even
pushing.
need the money. So that's the thing when you're a man, right? You don't need he pursued her. So she could have just been like, whatever, and it's over.
Yeah,
He got what he wanted. She got what she wanted.
but he wanted more. And let's
Uh,
also talk about what I believe.
why did the lie? Oh,
Well, what I believe is that the in this situation, people look at it and they think because Winston was Jamaican, because she clearly had money, they didn't really. It doesn't get through people's brains that he wasn't like some, you know, they were actually what I would say equally yoked. They just had an age difference, right? So, in other words, they would be able to have conversations. You see the conversations that they were having because it's not just about how old you are, it's that they each had interests. They each, it,
yeah.
there was a certain amount of refinement that happened that they understood certain things, right? So, that part of it was okay. And I think another part is that people always look at it like Winston was on the take, like he was trying to get something from Stella, but he didn't have to because he had rich parents
That's probably
anyway.
why she made his family like that, right? So we could focus on the things, right? That's what makes good
Yeah.
stories too,
Yeah.
where you eliminate some issues that could be brought up.
Yeah. Because if Winston had been from lesser means, then it would be like, well, maybe he's only doing
Yeah.
it. Well, maybe he's trying to come up and maybe he, but they, well, and
Yeah.
then look, in real life, Winston just wanted that green card and he could find the real love of his life, a man. Okay, so in real life, let me just also say, because I don't remember what if the guy that Terry McMillan married was rich, but what I would say is that if we're talking about the
Was he an
character
immigrant?
Winston, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm gonna assume he did because they lived together. He moved to California and he got, some whatever, his green card. He
Oh,
got his
okay.
papers and she was rich. And so, okay. But I don't know if he was rich or not, or his family was rich or not in real life. But in this movie, I would say, look, Winston, this is what you got to understand about people who got money that are from other places is that They are
it
not the
pays for
ones.
itself.
They're
Yeah.
they're not the ones who you see who are desperate for a quote green
Right.
card and everything like that. And I'll
Right,
say
because
that.
so also his parents are doctors. He's going to medical school and he can get into an American medical school, possibly. I don't know. Right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm sure he probably if
and then
he's
he can
at that level
practice,
there,
and
and then
then
he'll be practicing. It won't be a problem.
right, and then the employers basically make his
He
way.
doesn't need it. And because, and this is one of the things I saw firsthand in Mexico. When I lived in Mexico, the rich Mexicans, you ain't really seeing them here. They're not the people who need and are in lack in the homeland, right? They're the people who have malls that are better than the malls we got here. That walk through the malls with their dog. And I had never seen anything like it. I'm like, you can bring your dog in these malls in here. These people are rich. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny that the idea that because, they're from a particular place, people are like, everybody thinks everybody wants to only be in America. The people who want to be mostly in America, or the United States in particular, would be the
Right.
people who don't have it good where they are.
Right, it's always a better life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
but
and those people, and I met plenty of Mexicans who had plenty of money while I was living there. And none of them had problems when they traveled wherever they wanted to go. They wanted to go to America. They went to America all the time. They went to the UK all the time. They traveled the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the idea that people are just busting down the door to get into this country who have means where they come from it's not what folks are thinking in the same way. It's really not.
yeah.
But anyway, I
So
digress a little.
why did Delilah give Stella's number to Winston?
Because she knew I'm probably finna go, and this is my friend. And the one last thing I can do for my friend is maybe hook her up with a dude. Because she could tell by the way her lip was poked out. Because she said, your lip is poked out. I never seen you like this over a dude. You like this dude. And, her friend was in denial. And so she just said, hey, I'm going to do you a solid. You need to go ahead and see what this could be with this dude. And so.
Yeah, and I guess because also she wasn't receptive of anybody else, right? And so it's a very different time, right? 1998-ish, right? Where it's that people desire to be in relationships. So you see your friends and stuff don't have somebody, then that is part of it where we need to make sure that they have somebody, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's this fake idea of being alone is enough, right?
Or being alone is preferable
It's
in
preferred
every
over.
situation.
Yeah,
and
but there's this idea, hey, I got somebody, we spend our life together and make a family, shoot, right?
yeah.
And it wasn't just this wholly separate selfish idea. And by selfish, I just mean just one being all about oneself.
About oneself, yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, very different times now because this idea we probably don't see in movies, new movies. It's the idea of like what they were talking about. Oh, you do it all on your own, right? That was brought up in this movie. And I think he's, one of them in their conversations, they kind of talked about that. And it was this, hey, I could do it on my own, all by myself, and that's it. And that would be the conclusion in this one is that nowadays, she doesn't need Winston at all. Just go back to wherever. I got my son and I got money, and that's good enough.
So
my son is the man and acting like this boy was acting in the movie at 11.
Maybe we could put out a quick poll and just ask, was Winston too young for Stella?
Let me see.
In the meantime, while we do that, I just want to continue to remind you guys that we do have what we're calling our premium film sponsor program that will allow you all to basically pay $25 and then we'll cover any film of your choice. And this is just for viewers. This is not for people to promote their movies that they made. And you just pay via axiom.app and you go there and you'll make sure you give us the name of the movie. Or you can Cash App us along with the name of the movie, and we'll cover it. At least 30 minutes we'll talk about it, and it'll happen within the next month. Probably sooner than a month, but
Yeah.
it'll be within the next month. All right, so more questions about how Stella got her groove back. I think that here's one question. All right. Do you think that after the film stops rolling, all right, do they actually make it as a couple? Are they able to make this work?
No. He got his dreams that he gonna pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And if she stops them, that's very weird. And all right, I guess he chose, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think he's going to do that. His parents are going to want him to do something that he wants to do. They ain't going to just be like, all right, take some time to figure it out and then just allow him to never, quote, figure it out, right? And live under a woman, basically.
They not going to let it happen.
Yeah.
Huh?
So like I was saying, he going to do his little medical school thing and then whatever comes after that, right? And have whatever career. So I don't know.
Amina says, I highly doubt it. So they not going to make it. Paris Finley says, no, he's just too immature for her.
Was he immature?
Well, for her, maybe.
I guess,
right?
but
Asia says nope. So nobody thinks that they could make it. Nobody, not one.
Not one said he
thinks,
wasn't too young either.
Well,
y'all need to get these votes up in this poll.
Sherry Latrice says, no, he's going to want kids one day, and that ship has sailed for Stella. Well, not if they act quickly, right?
Yeah.
But she says she really didn't want it. But not if they acted quickly. That could have been.
Or they got enough money.
So they got a lot of money. They
in
can
another
make that
10
happen.
years, y'all could do real well.
It
became a lot easier.
So here's my other question. Since we're talking about this, nobody believes they could make it. You know what it sort of reminded me a little bit of? When Demi Moore was married to Ashton Kutcher, right? Because there was this period where I think it was around the time that Charlie's Angels came out, the one she was in, and then they got married around that time. And then after they got married, they lasted a little bit, and then eventually, they got divorced, and he went on to marry, I think, Mila Kunis, I think her name is, because I think she might have been on that 70s show, his current wife that he went on to have a family with or whatever. And so I don't know, like, I just think there are challenges, and I think it certainly adds a challenge at some points. But I believe it's possible, but what I don't know that we ever really saw in the film was enough change on Stella's part, right? That the stuff she was doing that was self-sabotaging, the stuff that she would be doing that would make it hard for them to survive as a couple.
Or the things she had issues with.
Yeah.
Because she had issues with his age and stuff. And does that just change? Because you said, hey, I want you now?
Right.
And with him, does it change that he want to try to act like the head of household or
Mm-hmm. You're right. And Asia reminds us that wasn't Demi Moore's first marriage either, right? Demi Moore used to be married to Bruce Willis, right? And I don't know, what is their age difference? Yeah, she was married to Bruce Willis. That's who she had the kids with.
I don't know. I didn't even know she got kids. I don't be knowing nothing about nobody.
Yeah. So
all I know is Jada Pinkett Smith, Gabrielle Union. And yeah.
Okay, so Demi Moore is 62, and let me see, and he's 69. So they didn't really have that big of an age gap or whatever. I don't think, because by the time they got together and married, I don't think they had that big of an age gap. 62, 69. 7 years is whatever. But yeah, and it was controversial when it happened. People talked about her because he was young, like, early 20s, I think it was, when they got together. And again, like we brought up earlier, Drea Michelle with the young basketball NBA player, and people saying, they just trashed her because she had, the baby by that guy. But would they
Jalen Green?
Yeah,
that's his name.
Would they have trashed a man who had the baby with a woman 20 years younger than him. That happens all the time. Look at like Al Pacino and what's the other one? Al Pacino and the other one that was in The Godfather. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I must be getting tired, y'all. That must mean it's almost time. But
the Godfather?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking
not
about
the Godfather. The other, well, yeah, he was the young version of the Godfather.
The young version.
Yeah.
Man, you know I don't know this.
At any rate, it doesn't matter. The point is that they're like 80 and they just had babies, you know, and obviously they're like 40 years older than these women, 50 years older than these women who they've married and had babies with. Oh, okay. Asia says Demi was married 3 times. Okay, who was her first marriage to? Because I didn't know. Or maybe the second one wasn't.
You talking about the first Godfather?
The Godfather 2, he would have been in that one.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, there's no young one in the first one.
Well, the only one in that one, because the old one isn't in that one.
Really?
Yes, really. So this is highlighting the fact that Freddie Moore. Okay, I don't know who he is, but okay, so that's how she got
Robert
her name.
De Niro.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, Robert De Niro. Why couldn't I bring that up? Robert De Niro. Yeah, he just had a baby. Like Justin, the dude is like 80 or whatever.
Oh yeah. I
you know,
heard about
they
that
all having babies with these women. But no, you know, people are like, yeah, well, is that fair? You know, but like, so, but women will get dragged.
Ooh. Who was that at the Mike Shanahan, was it? They were at the whatever award show.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL honors or something. And was it Snoop? I think Snoop was there and he was like hosting, and you know how they try to make him have jokes, and he was joking about the age of, I think it was Mike Shanahan's girlfriend. Because they were basically talking about something about when the Cowboys won or something, or when they won.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't born yet or something.
Oh,
like,
see?
it was
So they'll make little jokes like that, little digs, but like, you know, it might be at one of these shows or somebody might say something like that. But at the end, like, think about, they set up and let Hugh Hefner, you know, with multiple young women and stuff. So, you know, so there is an element of gender bias that happens with these things too, you know. But I think maybe that they could have made, I would have liked for them to make it as a couple after the film stopped, you know, rolling. I mean, because I just think it would have been a nice, successful story because they really loved each other.
It was Bill Belichick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, all of these rich people will, you know, do that, you know, many times anyway. So, we just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody who joined us to talk about how Stella got her groove back. But I think this laid a really nice foundation for further conversations that we would probably like to have about this film, that would be more in depth, because then people remember what happened in the film and we could talk about it. Because it can be really hard, like if we have one question we want to discuss, to have that conversation without having covered what actually happened in the movie. So now that we got that out of, you know, the way, I think this is, you know, this was nice. And it was a nice, wonderful way to spend a Friday evening. We hope all of the rest of you have a wonderful and safe weekend. And again, and thank you to anybody who has gone ahead and according to Heit earlier, we are just going to go ahead and honor anybody who does the who decides to do the sponsor a video, sponsor a film. We'll go ahead and honor any of that. But we appreciate you all so much, and feel free to watch any of the videos that we have posted, because for whatever reason, a lot of people are not getting the notifications. So we hope that you're getting your notifications. If not, please unsubscribe, resubscribe, and hit the bell so that you can get all of those notifications. And thank you so much.
If you made it this far, type desperate old broad in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones.
Desperate old broad.
Who stick around to the end.
Good night and happy Valentine's Day, Asia, and everybody else in the chat. Bye, Kason and Cheri Latrice. And thank you to everybody. Grape Tea News, you're there. And thank you so much. Oh, and somebody said Team Replay. Sounds like y'all wrapping it up. Yes, just go ahead and hit that rewind. Team Replay. Bye-bye.